so that, and then people can just sort of pile in while we're talking about
I
nothing. Let me see. Let me make sure. All right, you are currently live. So don't say any like. Please stop talking about how like Forrest Fenn gave you all the answers and how you're actually Jack.
Yeah, Jack's brother.
Have you heard those like rumors that you're Jack? Or
No, I
okay,
that's the new. Is that what's going around?
there. So when this, I guess I didn't realize how many secret or Force Fenn searchers the secret pulled in. But as soon as I announced this, I got a bunch of messages, and one of them was like, you know, Copper Dan is Jack, right?" I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I've heard people say that you worked with him. I've heard people say that there's inside stuff, and we're not going to talk about that, I promise. But that was the first time I've ever heard anybody be like, "He is Jack." It's like, oh, okay,
Yes, I flew to New York to meet myself in a in an airport.
yeah.
No,
How was it writing for Medium?
yeah.
So, Dan, I got questions. The first question is, um, how long have you were, because I'm assuming you're not working on the Force Fin hunt anymore. How long were you working on it?
I so first heard about it in 2015 and really got started with it in middle, probably June, July of 18, I think is when it was.
When did it come out?
2010. I think I think somewhere around late October, November is when the book release was.
And then like I heard he released the book, but then it didn't get a whole lot of traction, and then he took out like an ad in a newspaper, like a flight newspaper, like a
Yeah, he
Sky
took
Mall.
out yeah, he took an ad out. You know, those magazines that sit in the back of you fly an airplane, there's always a magazine there. And there's an ad in there, and he put it in, and that's when it blew up. I think originally the first edition they only like printed 1,000 books, and they printed many other
Many other
editions.
editions after.
I think there's like 12 editions or something.
Do you have a first edition?
No,
Oh, I
I
bet those
have
go for
a
big bucks.
yeah. I think they're a little more rare. So they did. I have a fifth edition, and then I think I think that's the one he signed for me because I still had it.
Nice. So it he printed it in this thing, and from what I understand, it was like a slow news week or something. Some news agency picked it up, and then it started getting sort of national press, and that's when it exploded. Right? I'm
Yeah.
curious. Had he said anything about the hunt up until that point? Had he said what his motivations were, or anything like that? Like, did he say why he did it?
Well, his original why had more to do with him getting cancer and I think wanting to leave, as he calls it, take it with him. So like his original plan was to go hide this treasure and kill himself and
Oh,
die on it. But there would have been a poem that was written that left behind, and you would have, you know. But then, as he says, my plans were foiled because they my cancer was went into well, it was cured, whatever, when he had surgery and uh and then I think I'm trying to remember this. This has all been long enough for my mind not to remember, but there was some a period of time, and then one day, and then in 2000, late 2008, not nine, whatever, is when he decided, you know what, I'm going to do this, and then in 10, it launched. But
all
he
right.
never actually officially said when he hit it when he was 79 or 80 years old. You
So
know,
he didn't give you a time, like he wasn't like I
he
buried
did.
it or I hit it in July. If
No,
yeah, okay, that would have been an odd treasure hunt. Like find a dead guy and $1 million.
Yeah, that would have been, especially if the bones and the skeletons laying
Yeah,
across the top of it.
that would have been strange. So, okay, so this hunt comes out and it doesn't get a lot of traction, I'm assuming, until the national news picks it up and starts telling everybody that this art dealer hid $1 million in the woods somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gained traction, right? And it seems like for a long time it was just your normal everyday treasure hunt. Like it was a little weird because I think because of the monetary value of this, like people were uh a little more secretive, a little more, they kept to themselves a little more. There wasn't like a team
Yeah,
effort for a while.
yeah. I don't think YouTube had picked up on it yet. Well, YouTube wasn't that big of a thing, maybe quite yet. Um, I'll tell you what did it for me, because I can't tell you 2015 to 2010. I didn't know anything about it. Where I found out about it is when, and it was where a lot of people found out, is when it hit Expedition Unknown.
Yeah.
Josh Gates,
Oh
he
God.
did that episode, and I was a big fan at the time. So I watched the Sunday night or whatever night Expedition Known was on, and it came out, and I saw that, and the book. I had the book ordered before the episode had ended on a
Wow.
commercial break. I'm like searching this Forrest Fenn weird. Just remember that name just sounded weird to me at first,
So
and I actually bought my book off of Amazon for like $75 when you could buy them directly from Collective Works bookstore for, I think, in the 40s, $35-40. It's like, oh well.
so I from the research that I did, Expedition Unknown is when that came out. That's when the Forrest Fenn hunt started getting a little crazy with sort of the more out there ideas and more of the controversy. It was like the community just like this, just like with The Secret, the community exploded overnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did up until that, like I guess since Forrest was still alive, like we don't have this ability with The Secret since Byron's dead, but did Forrest say anything about the sort of explosion of popularity? Was he surprised? Do you know?
I don't. Um, I actually think he may have slightly inflated the actual numbers of searchers, because
Yeah.
he was in the many hundreds of thousands, and I think that was an estimate he took off of the number of emails he got per day. So when he first started this, I mean, if you emailed Forrest, you got a response. If you called him, he would talk to you. If you went to an event, he would probably sit down with you personally. But as 2015, 16, and especially towards 17, 18, he I think he realized, you know, there were a lot of people that were maybe up to no good, or he had to really start. I mean, his somebody did a video once of them sitting there interviewing Forrest, and his phone or his computer literally every 4 or 5 seconds was going ding, ding, ding. He goes, "That's emails coming in right now." I
Yeah.
mean, so to get a response from Forrest, um, once I learned all that, it's like, and I didn't pepper him with emails, but I always had questions in emails, and on occasion I would get a response. But once I really realized, like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it. Like, this guy is just getting hammered with hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. And think about, I mean, Forrest isn't like he's our age. It isn't, by the time it was his late 80s. Imagine your grandfather with he's
Yeah.
like, all right, I just kind of let that go. And
Yeah, we're getting that with so there's this other hunt called the Golden Apple Tale, and we had an anonymous author, and we figured out who the author was, and now I guess other people are finding out who the author is, and now he's going through that too. He's like, people are just emailing me constantly and I don't want to deal with it. And I think it really is because he's an old guy, man. Like he's got other stuff to do. He doesn't, I don't know.
I don't
Anyway,
think I don't think Forrest realized what he had created and what it was going to turn into.
yeah.
I mean, I
I,
think he had some expectation. I think he had expectations of what he hoped it would be, but it took this turn with with as he I don't know who named them the 7%ers, if it was Forrest or somebody else, but they called the 7%ers, and I'm sure you got them in the secret too, the people that are a little bit off the wall.
Yeah, a little bit off the wall is a very nice way to put that. Um, but for sure, a nice way to put that. But like, with that amount of money involved, you have to imagine that there's going to be some crazy, like desperate people fighting for $1 million.
I mean, that happened in the David Blaine hunt. That was for 100,000.
Yeah.
So when you start throwing that, you throw another decimal point in there, another zero, and it's like, ooh, yeah. I think if anyone ever do this again, they should be very aware and really study what happened in the Forrest Fenn hunt.
Well, I was talking. It's interesting that you say that. I was talking to Robert Jenner, who does the Live from the Code Bar podcast not too long ago, and we were trying to think of any treasure hunt that had a prize of over like $10,000 that didn't have drama, and we couldn't think of one. Like, it seems like after you get above that threshold of about 10 grand, it's just bullshit. Nothing but bullshit comes,
And I understand the excitement and because it becomes more life-changing money.
Yeah.
Maybe not like 10,000. Obviously that's a nice chunk, but when you start talking, $1 million, I think for any of us, but why that brought out some strange characters with it.
I believe you have one of your 7%ers in our comments who's saying, before Fenn died and the fake hunt ended, I told him he served as a bad example. So thank you for that. It's like, whatever.
I don't have chat up, so if anyone asks.
Yeah. If anybody asks anything, I'll just repeat it to you. Did you talk to Forrest much?
So I met him once. Didn't have any personal conversations. I flew down with there was not a large group, 50 of us ish that met at Collected Works, and Forrest came, and I got a picture with him, shake his hand. He signed my book, talked to the group a little bit, and then the next day we met for breakfast, and it was just like a small group, like 12 or 15 people, and we had no idea Forrest was even coming. And so when Forrest was to back up to the day before at Collective Works, he had his grandson there, Shiloh, which is kind of his bodyguard, if you would. And then I heard there was private security that was hired. But the next day he showed up, like he got in his car and drove up to this place by himself and just totally, I think a couple of people knew he was coming, but the word didn't get out. So, and he actually come and sat, we had like 4 tables, and he come and sat at each table for a while and really gave us his time. I'm like, what a cool guy. And this was so really I didn't get well into the hunt, I think, until around, like, say, June, July of 18, and this was September.
Yeah.
So I was still very new. I didn't know anybody. That's where I met a lot of people like Mike and Christy and all the larger YouTube names in the chase.
The reason I was asking, I was curious if he had said anything either close to when the hunt ended or after the hunt ended about, like, if he had any thoughts about how it went. Did you?
So K-Pro, Christy, was supposed to interview him shortly after he died. He said, I can't answer a lot of specific questions, but I might be able to, maybe there were so many questions about the book.
Yeah.
But, what were the hints and what did this mean in the book? I don't know. I mean, I don't think Jack knows. Yeah. So I don't think they'll ever be able to be answered unless Shiloh knows, and that'll come out at a later date in Netflix or in a book. Or,
I mean, that's an interesting point, because it wasn't the Forrest Fenn hunt wherein The Secret is just a book. The Forrest Fenn hunt wasn't just a book. You guys had a book, you had scrapbooks, you had letters, you had, was it that guy, is it Dal that was Forrest Fenn's
Yep.
friend who just constantly
Yep.
put stuff out?
Yep. Dale started the website and ran the website. And I would say he was between, I would say he might have been the closest person we had to Forrest. I mean, look at that. You can go on YouTube and there's hours and hours of videos that are more almost like documentaries of Forrest talking about his days in the war and just about his life. And it's just, oh my gosh, that was just phenomenal to. It's like I know more about Forrest than I know about my own grandpa. I'm like, I almost feel bad.
But was any of that helpful?
I think it was more honestly at the time. You didn't. He was a master at misdirection and he would and you would think that's a clue. I mean, he slipped and it never led anywhere.
All right. But given what the community knows now, right? Like you at least know where the treasure was in the general sense, right? It was 9 Mile Hole in the middle of the park, right? Given what you know
No,
now.
no, no, no. Be careful, no, George. There's going to be people that are going to argue with you on that. But
Okay.
for the
It
sake of
was
this
at 9
conversation,
Mile Hole.
for the sake of this conversation, the belief of you and I, it was across the Madison at. So for those that may not know, in Yellowstone National Park, approximately, I believe, 9 miles from West Yellowstone is why they call it 9 Mile Hole. There is a fishing hole, and there's a pull off right there, and it's a famous little spot to fish trout. That
Which
Forrest and his grandfather and his grandsons and many others have fished that hole, but that was special to Forrest. And if you went across the river there and kind of diagonally across a little bit and about another couple hundred yards or so into the woods, it was literally put. The trees are mangled and laying on top of each other. I think most of us would have gotten to that point and went, yeah, no way did some old man walk in there. But he did.
but that fits with what he said the whole time, right? Like it was at his favorite fishing spot or something. He parked really close to it. It
So
wasn't somewhere an old man.
he never said it was his favorite fishing spot.
Oh,
However, that is one of his slip ups. If in one of the videos that Jack supposedly said he found 2 slip ups in videos, and we think that was one of the slip ups that he did. He did say something about using the words "my favorite spot" and "my favorite fishing hole" almost together, and
I always thought the slip up that Jack had. Forrest Fenn did an interview with a guy. It was like a reporter. I think it was the dude that eventually wrote the book, right? The hell was his name? It doesn't matter. He did like this reporter, going out looking at all this stuff, and Forrest told him he was like, what was it, within 90 or 900 meters of the treasure chest at one point. Like that's the biggest. That's the biggest slip up to me.
So I know he said that to Dale once, like you were within 200 yards of the treasure. I think Dale went out treasure hunting and come back, and he went down and met with Forrest, and they were going to sit down and do some more documentary entries on camera. And he asked him, "So where were you?" And he kind of said, "Well, I drove from here and drove up there here." And on the way out, Forrest told him, he goes, I don't know if it was a message, but he goes, you were within 200 feet, or I think 200 feet of the treasure today. And he's like, what? And he's trying to think, where was I?
That was always like when I heard the story of Jack finding it, that was, I distinctly remember this interview where he told some reporter that he was within X amount of feet. And I can't remember who the reporter was. And I just thought, I was like, okay, so Jack has gone out and he's found this thing and he spent X number of days from, in his words, wandering through the woods, right? Why would he be doing that? Oh, if you take this area the dude was in, you can just make a grid and do 900 yards away from it in a couple of days. You could cover the whole ground. That was always my thing. But like, I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about.
So, the end of so I don't know if we're jumping off a topic here, but the end of the chase. So as odd as this sounds, what it looks to be is the blaze was a tree.
Yeah.
Which now I always figured rock or something more permanent because of Forrest's his words, and just being like, why would you use a tree as a blaze if you want a treasure hunt to last? Like, I mean, and well, apparently whether it was a tree or a carving on a tree, that and it could have been a tree that Forrest had been there since Forrest was young, so Forrest thought, this thing's going to be here for a long, long time, and it was below. Anyways, it looks like that whole area got infested with bark beetles, and it killed the trees.
It's probably
and then the tree fell over. So now your area, there's no final marking. So Jack, I think he just believed in himself or in the information that this is the area, and he's smart enough with technology that he used his phone and he gridded the area using, I believe it was, whether it was phone or another device, but he grid walked the area and searched, and he literally did what Forrest said you couldn't do, is he stumbled upon it.
And then left it there overnight. Did I hear that right? He left it overnight?
Yes, that is what he said. He left it overnight. Now, a savvy group of people with ping technology and then argued that said he found it the prior year. And I didn't believe that for a long time.
Ping technology?
When one of the, they somehow were found where he was with his cell phone the prior year.
That doesn't make sense to me.
That's getting sketchy. But anyways, I think when a lot of the lawsuits happened, a lot of the emails were released, and some of the members were able to get them, and it does look like Jack's story of that. I found it and I left it and came back the next day was partially true. It just that when he found it and came back to retrieve it was a longer period of time, like fall to almost summer of the next year.
There's no way I would leave that there.
Well, we all questioned him when he originally said I left it and came back the next day. I'm like, no way, dude. And he just would never really. So this kind of makes sense to that. So his reasoning would have been, and for what it looks like, is he found it and he realized we have a problem.
This isn't it's illegal. Yeah.
What do I do here? And he was trying to get Forrest to realize, I really found this. Can you give me the permission? So finally, I think what he did was then he did go back and he actually took pictures of it and went and sent them to Forrest. Like, I found this. Do you give me permission to take this thing out of here and bring it back to you? Because that's the only way I think he could think to get around.
That makes sense.
And I think at the end of the day, there were still some issues, and it does sound like Jack, Forrest, and Yellowstone National Park had a Zoom conference together. And that we do know happened and there are some really, really savvy people in treasure hunting with finding out information. I will tell you this, don't ever lie to a treasure hunter. They will nail your ass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
They have ways.
So I can buy that story because of who Jack is, right? Like he's not a guy that wanted publicity. He's a dude that already has a career. He doesn't necessarily need the money. Like, the money's nice, but he doesn't need it. He's got a family, and this hunt doesn't seem to be his life, right? So why ruin your life over something like this? You go out, you stumble on this thing, you realize, oh my God, this is a crime. Like, I have no idea what I'm allowed to do. I have no idea what I'm not allowed to do. I'm going to go back and get a lawyer. I'm going to go back and consult whoever. Nobody's found it in 15 years or whatever. Nobody's going to happen upon it overnight or over the next couple of days.
Now,
So I could buy that.
whether he actually left it in the same spot or moved it, hard to say. You know, we always look at things to the eyes of what would we have done,
Yeah.
and we have to realize Jack was a little bit different breed of character in that sense.
I mean, it's also entirely possible that he left it for legal reasons, you know? Like he took it, but he's never going to tell anybody that because that's a crime. So he left it and then came back.
So the eventual way that we pretty much were able to nail the exact spot where it was is because, again, so this whole thing has been lawsuit after lawsuit. The lawsuit that was filed the day after Forrest announced it was found turned into eventually Jack being outed. Jack never wanted people to ever know who he was. So then Jack had to come out and he was outed. Well, then, you know, you fast forward to another lawsuit, and the pictures, the original, because what we all got, the pictures were very, very close up pictures, and they're very hard to do anything with. So then some of the other pictures came out in the lawsuits that were released, and again, some savvy treasure hunters took those pictures, went out and literally grid searched the 9 Mile whole area and looking for the log, and they found the logs, and it was this was, I think now this was 2020, probably 2022. So the treasure had been found for 2 years. So the hole it was in and stuff. Well, then, have you heard the story about the stick?
No, but stick? The one thing, the one story before you get, like, I think I've heard of this stick. I think I know where you're going with this, but the craziest thing to me was Jack and Forrest, or Jack said that he didn't want the spot released because searchers would immediately come in and desecrate Forrest Fenn's favorite spot, right? And then searchers for weeks were like, that will never happen. We're going to go in and we're going to honor it. And it's going to be a pilgrimage. And then you found out where it was. And like the next day, somebody came and cut out all the trees and stole them.
So they stole the log.
Like, what?
There's someone stole the log. Yellowstone says, did someone ask them? I don't want to say that Yellowstone said they didn't do it because I don't know that they even answered that. Probably not. But we don't know who took the log. My guess is more than likely a 7%er went out there and took the log. But in the treasure chest was when Jack took the picture of it, there was a small stick in the treasure chest.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, Jack, what did you do with the stick? You know, the stick is now famous with this. It's worth as much as some of the gold in the chest. I just threw it out. So a very honorable searcher named Rudy Green went there, and I think what happened is when he was going through pictures, he zoomed in on digital pictures and went, oh my God, that's a stick. So he went out and got it. And the stick is only like yay big, but it has distinctive markings that they were able to positively identify to the best of everyone's ability that this is the stick. So it's like, so that was so it just added confirmation to, okay, we have found the spot. So now we can backdoor the clue. We should be able to figure out if we know where it was. We have an idea where it started. We should be able to
kind of work it out.
Kind of work what were the clues out, and then go look for them in the book. But it'd have been so much easier if Forrest could have told us. But I think, this being hidden in a national park, it was an error, definitely. I don't think Forrest cared.
Yeah.
He hit it that where he said. I'm sure he knew, but he also probably thought they're not going to find this in my lifetime. Or
well, he was in a different frame of mind when he hid this, right? Like he wasn't expecting to be around that long, so he probably didn't care.
Right. That was his spot, and he always knew that was going to be his spot. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't see this turning into this big mess like it did, which is it's too bad. But
So the verse is 6 stanzas, 4 lines each, right? But Forrest said there were only a certain amount of clues in the verse, like the rest was just kind of filler. You say
yeah,
9
so
clues?
this is an odd thing that I always question, like why not? Why nine? Not only why 9 clues, just 9 clues or whatever. Well, why did he specifically say I've written hidden in the poem? There's 9 clues that if December, because when I've done some treasure hunts, and sure lots there's others, no one has ever specifically said there's this many clues that you need to find. And someone asked him once, why 9 clues for us? And he said, well, his answer was because that's how many it took. But now looking back, knowing this is a 9-mile hole with 9 clues, I think the 9 clues was a clue. It's almost a hint
Yeah. That
to the
seems
spot
creative. Yeah.
itself. But I also think he thought, and there were Jack was not the first to search 9-mile hole. It's just you're literally searching for a needle in a haystack,
Yeah.
and especially without.
I've never looked at how big that area is. I mean, is it
I
like
mean,
miles long or is it because in Florida,
no,
when you think about fishing holes, it's like a little pond, you know?
it's 100, maybe 100 yards, a couple 100 yards by a couple 100 yards or something.
Oh, okay. So it's not huge.
It's no, but think about this: is take a box that's 10 by 10 by 6
I'm a
and hide
secret
it.
searcher. I agree. I
Yeah,
understand. I
if I hid that, I own 3 acres of land. If I hid that on my land from somebody and you hid it, so it was it was hidden. It was when Jack found it. The only thing that was barely exposed was the lid, and that had pine needles over it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you,
use that exact example in The Secret. I could take one of these casks and bury it in my front yard and tell you I buried it in my front yard, and you'd still never find it because it's a
no,
small
especially
thing in a big area.
yeah, especially when with the secret, they're a couple 2-3 feet under the ground. I mean, just
Supposedly, yeah.
probing, you got to get really lucky because that's even a smaller box
Yeah.
cache.
So
All right.
the the hunt after Expedition Unknown, uh, there was some drama, but there wasn't like there were people doing stupid things. Like in The Secret, we have people doing stupid things and they land in jail. But you guys had what 6 people die? Like
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Yeah. It's
I've never understood. Now I see both sides of this coin. I understand that Forrest said many times, like I am an 80-year-old dude. This is not somewhere I would not go. You know, I
I mean, they
understand
were
he
they're
said that
they're
a lot.
so I know one searcher died rafting down the Rio Grande down in New Mexico, and so that caused Forrest to say it's nowhere along the Rio Grande. It's like, and I know searcher died in Yellowstone. I don't know where all. I know some. I believe there was one in Colorado. I mean, it's just people.
Well,
It's
in
not.
outside of the Fenn community, you get a lot of hunters who are like, Forrest should have done something about this. But I don't I don't know what he could have done other than what he did, you know? Like he was like, it's not somewhere an old man wouldn't go. I carried it from my car, you know? It's not, you don't have to rappel down a frozen waterfall to get it. You know what I'm saying? And like that's never, it's never seemed fair to Forrest. That argument that Forrest should have done something never really seemed fair to me.
Right. No, I see both sides of the coin, but I tend to agree with you when you tell these same people could have died just out enjoying Yellowstone. I mean, people die in the park all the time, and
Yeah.
it's generally because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. No, I want to be respect. I'm always wanting to be respectful, especially to the family of somebody that died, but
Yeah,
I don't think it was Forrest's fault that anybody died.
no, no, yeah, I totally agree with you. Don't, yeah, it's like don't speak ill of the dead, but it's difficult to not speak ill of those dead in some ways. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The one thing that like that did it actually kind of hurt me. Like it there was a bit of mourning for me after Forrest Fenn was found, was because you had searchers who it's never been confirmed, but it's likely took their life like right after it was found. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
That was horrible to me because that
Yeah,
searcher
and
was
I
also
don't.
big in the secret community.
Yeah, and I don't. If we were talking about the same person, I don't think that was the reason.
I don't think it was the whole reason. I think we both understand why, but
Yeah.
it was I mean, it was like the day after. It was a contributing factor. Forrest Fenn has a way, like we think the secret has a way of integrating itself into our searchers' lives, but Forrest Fenn's hunt took that to a whole new level. You
I
know?
mean, to back up, the, the day the chest was found and I heard about it, my wife literally looked at me and said, "Are you going to be okay?" Because she knew how invested I was. I said, "I feel like my doc just died," or it's just like, no. I mean, that's it's kind of in the back of my head. I thought this thing's never going to be found, but it's going to be something that I do every summer, where I, work on things over the winter, and then go out as soon as the park or that area, because that was kind of my area too, is open enough to go out there and spend a week, and more so just to go out there, spend a week and have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one thing. One the biggest positives I took away is I live in Minnesota, and I was like, I always wanted to go to the Rocky Mountains and go hiking, but I just never had that reason.
Yeah.
And this gave me that reason. And actually, I got into some back country, like way off the beaten path, and always remember that. So
So you have good memories.
I have very good memories,
Good.
and
Like it's
I've also been able to, for the most. I mean, here I am 4 years later doing a podcast talking about it. But for the most part, I've let it go. I've moved on with my life.
well, a lot of people haven't.
Uh,
So
I, I agree with you. There are people that, and that's what I said the day this hunt ended. There were people, like my wife looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I'm fine, but there are people that seriously this they still don't believe it. They and it's like, no, it doesn't matter what you show them. It's like, well, then I don't know what to tell you. Keep if you think there's a second chest or this is all fake and it's still out there, go prove us wrong.
well, it
But
was
just don't.
authenticated and sold, so there's not much.
I I know. I own, and I actually, yeah, I got a couple pieces out of it, so it was cool.
That's nice. Probably spent a little more than you expected to. I watched that
Oh,
auction and it was like, oh my god, there's like $20 worth of gold going for $400 here.
yeah. So, and that's so the I'm trying to think of how to put this together, because it was more than one person that bought it, but we only
Yeah.
know one of the people. So what we were told by that person was, when they bought it, they bought it to give back to the treasure hunting community. They wanted a couple items out of it, of
You
which
mean
they
they
kept.
bought
They
it
kept.
from Jack? They bought
Yes,
the chest from Jack. Okay.
they bought the chest from Jack, and they kept the treasure chest itself and the dragon bracelet, which I got to see the dragon bracelet up close. Oh my god, the thing was just phenomenal. Nicest piece in the chest, hands down.
Yeah.
Um, but where was I going with this? Anyways,
The money they sold, but wanted to give it back to the
oh,
community.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So the gold dust was all in one thing, and they split the gold dust up into small increments and made many, many small um, enclosed capsules of it, and put the provenance in there, that is from the Fenn treasure. So it's NGC. Everything was on the up and up. And they thought, okay, these will sell for, like you say, maybe 100, 200. Those things were selling at 11, 12. Right now on eBay, they're like, I think upwards of $1,300, $1,400.
Yeah.
And there's not even anywhere close to an ounce in there. I mean, it's just, or there's also gold flakes there. But then somebody, I just saw this today. I did not know about this till literally today. Took the gold flakes, and I don't know, because I don't know the whole story yet, but I think they gave them back to NGC and said, can you take the gold flakes and literally put one flake in one flake? And I don't, so that there was, and they're on eBay for $200. So if you want to own a piece of the Fenn treasure, you can own one for about $200.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Well, I mean, I guess I understand. You put so much of your life into this thing, you want a piece of it, but
yeah. So I mean, and that's cool. That's capitalism. It's, I mean, people. I mean, I was there the night the auction happened, and and I'd kind of set some limits to myself, and I went way beyond those. So it's like, oh my God, it became down to, if you want a piece. I mean, coins that we thought would go for like $500 or $600 were going for $1,800.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you buy this, I thought to myself, if I buy this, I will never get my money back. There is no way gold will. I mean, I'll be dead and gone before gold actually hits this price. So I am buying this because I want to own a piece of the Fenn treasure, and I was okay with that, and a lot of people were.
But you're gonna make your money back. It's fine. I mean, judging from the resale prices, if you were to sell it now, you'd still be fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
one of the pieces that I just shows, like, I bought one thing that night, and then later I had the opportunity to buy a different piece. And now that original piece, which was a ring that was inscribed October 14th, I bought it for my wife because we met on October 14th.
Oh, nice.
And she's like, this is really cool and stuff. It sat in the safe. So yeah. I just recently, I'm like, if you're never do you want me to get rid? So I actually that's what I was doing today, is I put it on eBay.
Yeah, I saw that. If you want to bid on the Forrest Fenn ring, I guess you can go to your profile, right? The link will probably.
No, just go into eBay and type in Forrest Fenn treasure, and
it'll be there.
Or just get a hold of me privately, and we can do it that way too. But whatever.
I feel like I when that was going on, I told Rachel, my fiance, I was like, I want to buy something, because it's Forrest Fenn's treasure. And I remember I was bidding on gold dust, and I was like, I'll top out at like $300.
Oh yeah,
didn't come close.
No, I had crazy. Just over a year ago. So I had heard of all the things that the whole treasure went to NGC, and they, authenticated everything, and if it needed to be cleaned or whatever, and they got it in capsules, and got the Fenn treasure. I should have grabbed them before we went live. I could show you. Anyways, there were 5 coins that they said that these are counterfeit and we cannot do anything with them. And so they went back to the purchasers of the treasure chest. And to me, those 5 coins are now worth more than anything. And I just asked the question to the right person one day. I'm like, I wonder what they're going to do with those. And I was able to purchase one. And
nice.
And that's my coin.
A fake coin that fooled Forrest Fenn.
Yep. And it didn't come in a sealed coin sleeve. It came with, it came with the thing, but rather than, it says Fenn treasure, but I can't remember what they put, but basically it was gold. I had it checked. It is real gold, but the stamp, it's the Indian, the stamp
like a remarked
on it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been that part was faked. So I took and I encapsulated that myself. I found out how to do it, and I did it myself and encapsulated it.
Well, if you ever run across that right person again and they want to get rid of another one, throw my name in there. I'd love to buy one. I don't care about Forrest Fenn's hunt. It's just like it's a piece of treasure hunting history, you know?
One of them got lost.
Oh.
It was being mailed to. So we always took it that there were 5 purchasers of the treasure because I think somebody said something once that there was a coin for each. One of those coins was going to each person, and anyways, whether that's true, if there was 5, but the person that had the treasure was sending them to the new where they were supposed to go, and our lovely U.S. Postal Service.
Huh. That's gonna pop up on a postal service auction one day.
The thing is if it ever pops up and they want to use that stamp, I mean, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. Everybody knows that there's only 5 of them, and the rest of the treasure, the Fenn treasure thing looks different on it.
Now, I know this is not a fair question for you. Not at all a fair question for you. And you this is wholly your opinion, and if you don't feel comfortable answering it, you can be like, I'm not going to answer that. Because there's no way you could know the actual answer to this question. Do you think if Forrest were alive and he saw what happened between between the treasure chest being found and now, he would be proud, he would be disappointed? What do you think his feelings would be? Now, I get you don't know the man. You don't.
So as far as what ended up, well, as far as the treasure chest itself, I think he wanted to see that end up in a museum. I think, to answer your question about the items in the chest, and that his community, like, all got, not everyone, but a lot of us all got a piece of it. I think he would be very okay with that.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
I think at the end of the day, this was the neatest thing that could have happened with the treasure itself. Now, a lot of it got bought up by people that, for reasonings of resale and this and that, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
But a lot of it did get,
well, like I come back to the olive jar, right? Like that was supposed to have Forrest's autobiography or something in it, and the person that bought it is now not allowed to share it, not allowed to do anything with it. And like, come on, man, you spent $90,000 or whatever on this thing.
40 actually, but
okay.
We thought it was going to go for over 100. Yeah. That was the last item that went, and we were just like, we were all like next to the computer, like, oh my god, it's just going to go for it. It just stalled at like 35, 40 grand, and the guy that bought it's a pretty interesting character himself. And if you haven't heard yet, there's another treasure hunt coming, and this one's going to be interesting because now we have somebody with more means than Forrest Fenn had to put on a treasure chest that's worth gobs of money. And that's why, does he really want to do this to himself? And that's
why I like The Secret, man, and like smaller hunts, because you get people who really like treasure hunts, and that's about it. They don't care. Like
that's what I like.
Unicornus, people have been looking for like 20 years for Unicornus, and all you get is a Franklin Mint sword. Like
right.
It's
like the 13th hunt for the 13th cache. I have to go to Louisville every year to St. James Court for an art show, and I always get there early, and I go over to Cherokee Park, and I have ran around that thing and walked around that thing more times than I can remember. And it's just cool because if I'm like, all the time I put it into this, if I did actually find it, it's not worth what, but it's worth that I found it.
Yeah.
I figured I'm the one. Now that's another one. If it's in that park, what's going to happen to the person that finds it? Because it's not legal to dig.
Yeah. The secret puzzles, and especially like the tribute, it's once you find it, it's not worth them prosecuting you over it. What they'll do is if you don't find it, you know, and they catch you digging holes, that's when you get in trouble.
Okay.
But yeah, I really
because in all honesty, those little ones are about bragging rights, and you want to be like, I'm the one, I figured it out.
Yep.
The Forrest Fenn hunt, there was that too, but I think there was enough looking back. If Jack would have found it, this is what I said. Jack should have found it, taken his pictures of it, went to a library or someplace that not his own computer, went to another computer at a public place, created an email address, loaded the pictures, emailed Forrest, and then walked away with it.
Yeah.
And never told a soul. And then pieced it. Because at the end of the day, for what Jack supposedly got for the chest, and with all the headache and all the thousands of dollars he had to spend in attorneys and lawyers, and when you look and you put all that together, I think that would have been his best option.
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah. You just froze for a second. I don't get people were like hacking Jack. Because you were saying people were trying to get his like GPS locations from his phone and stuff. That doesn't seem possible to me.
I don't. That's why when it all came out, when I was hearing about this, I'm like, oh, get on. This is. But I'm like, first of all, if you are doing that, don't. That's like an invasion of privacy. But it's honestly the reason Jack left, in my opinion. I'll put that in my opinion. I mean, when Jack did come out, when he outed his name, he did it on his own terms and he did it himself rather than it coming out through a lawsuit. And then he created a way for us to talk with him. And I remember that, I sent him an email that day. I don't want to bug the guy. I'm like, you know what? I would like to just say hi, congratulations, whatever. And he got back to me. It was like, oh, that's cool. And that's where the back and forth between him and I started, which led a year, whatever, later to us meeting.
Yeah. I've emailed him like 3 or 4 times and I've got nothing, but I get that. Like I'm emailing him for a different reason. So
the last email. So we met in July. In September 8th, I think I emailed him September 7th. September 8th was his last reply. And I've never
done. Like there's no point in him talking to people anymore. It's just going to cause problems for him.
Well, look at the end of I don't think he wants the headache anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, for one, he doesn't have the treasure anymore. So, what we want out of him is we want story. And I suspect someday.
Yeah.
Now, supposedly there's a gag order on Jack that I've heard that people that bought the treasure chest from him put a gag. I'm like, what? Okay, but I still think. I mean, look, I had 30. I mean, I think Jack's still in his mid-30s. So let's say when Jack's is Forrest's age or something. It says, you know what? He still remembers this little part of his life and never got to tell the story. So maybe he tells it long after we're gone. But
I hear there's like a show, or a movie or a documentary or something coming out. I mean, I hear that through back channels.
Netflix. I mean, it's been being made for years, but Netflix is supposedly coming soon this summer, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe you'll learn something there. Like there's got to be a reason where I can't see the people who bought the chest, unless the people who bought the chest are directly related to making a production of some sort. I can't see why they would put like Jack under an NDA. I can see why Forrest's family would put him under an NDA, especially given the fact that they like sued or whatever to keep the olive jar from getting out. Like if they're making something that's going to tell you all of that in one, documentary, I could see why they would do that. Other than that, I can't see why they would do it.
Oh, you're probably barking up the right tree.
Yeah. I don't know. So let me ask you this, because this is where I understand the Forrest Fenn hunt up until the end, and then the end it sort of goes off the rails for me. There was a lawsuit that started all of this, like this whole. If the Forrest Fenn hunt is a burning pile of rubble at the bottom of a hill, what started that fire was a lawsuit, and correct me if I'm wrong, by a lady who said that Jack hacked into her computer and stole the solution, so she was suing him.
That is 100% correct.
That is nuts. That's just like how did that not get laughed out of court immediately?
All of the lawsuits that made it into court, it makes me question our legal system.
So there's been more than one, just more than just that lady. Can you walk us through the lawsuits?
Oh boy. So there was one one of the most recent ones that was Jamie McCracken is his name. Now Jamie supposedly used to run one of the blogs. Anyways, I went off the deep end and threw the Fenn family and drug them into court. This was Forrest has been passed away. Drove his family, his grandson, Forrest's daughters into court. And it was ugly.
Yeah.
That's the best part I can put. It was ugly. And in the end of the day, Jamie not only lost, but he lost everything. Like, I mean, when you mess with the bull,
they counter.
When you mess with, when you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horn. And I think there was many times when they said knock it off. But when you got his daughters in court bawling their head off because of the things he said and done, yeah, it's just again. And then there's another one. I think there's one going on right now. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Besides Jamie, I'm not going to even put out any more names because I don't want to make these guys, blow their YouTube channels up and make them even more powerful than they already are. Because in the end of the day, it's like, can you not really see that? Yeah, maybe Jack fibbed a little bit on how it, but you have to look back and go, there is a reason. Jack just isn't like some compulsive liar and this is all made up. Jack had to say what he had to say because Jack found it in a national park and he kind of wanted to keep it.
Yeah.
Maybe he was trying to get out of paying taxes on it. Well, who wouldn't?
This is what I don't understand though. Like, it's Jack's story to tell. He is the finder. He's the dude that found it. He can tell you as much or as little as he wants. It's his whatever. You're not, just because you invest time of your life and your money or whatever in something, that doesn't mean that you're owed anything. Like, none of these people owe you an explanation. None of these people owe you their story. So I don't understand how, and it applies to The Secret too. I don't understand how this hobby, how people feel like this hobby owes them anything. Like how kind of balls do you have to sue someone over your hobby? Like, I just don't get it.
And what are you suing for? It was a free treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And you technically in this one, all you needed was the poem, which you could find on the internet.
Yeah.
Now most of us bought the book. But yeah, but having said what you just said, Jack, if you're listening and you want to tell your story.
Yeah. Or me. I don't care.
I mean, why you would call me, I don't know, because go to somebody like Dan Barbarisi or someone that can really do it justice. But
nah, it's over here. Come over here.
No,
me and Copper will interview.
So
I
Dan,
want to talk. I've emailed Jack multiple times, and I want to talk to him about something completely unrelated to the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. He put out a video about cognitive bias and treasure hunting.
yeah,
It's probably the best treasure hunting video I've ever seen. Like it should be required viewing for everyone who wants to work on a treasure hunt. And he did that like what 2 years, a year maybe before anybody knew who he was. I remember as soon as his name came out, I found that on YouTube. It had like 12 views. It was nothing.
yep.
But it is
I remember.
legitimately the best video.
So when I met Jack and we were kind of talking, and it wasn't so much when I got into talking the treasure hunt, and I'm like, and we were kind of almost talking like you and I are now. I said, man, you did something. You looked at this in a way, or did something that none of us did, and he just shook his head, and that's what he left it at. But man, he really. I don't think he was enamored as most of us were with the YouTube and all this. I think in many ways, I think that was as fun as it brought to the chase. It also took away from it because we spent all our time not doing what we should have been doing, what we should have been doing is had our head in the book. And then when you go hear somebody else's solve it, almost like, oh, because there's the problem with this. Well, the good part of, I guess, the design of this hunt is it so many places made sense. Like I heard people solves and I'm like, that, they put out on Dale's website that I'm like, they put them out to say this was wrong because we went there and it wasn't there. But I was like, holy crap, that's a genius solve. That's just incredible. How do you thought of that? And went through it. And then to find out, no, it was there.
Yeah. Yeah, like but it's that way with a lot of treasure hunts, right? Like if in order to solve a hunt properly, you have to think the way the hunt creator thought, right? Like they're giving you sort of a location in flowery language and you just have to decipher the flowery language. You could decipher it any way you want. Like we see that in the secret community constantly. As much as the correct cities for the secret have been confirmed multiple times, people are still like, I think there's one in Arizona because, whatever. It's tricky, but the way he describes in his video is just like you said, throwing all of that out and knowing, like seeing what you know as a fact and then building on that fact. I don't know.
Like
I would love to talk
with the 13th cache, for the most part, I've tried to stay away from the Facebook page. I've kind of tried to just like, what, this is going to be something I do myself. And if I figured this thing out, great. And if I don't, whatever. It's,
well,
I'm not going to,
I tell people with the 13th, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm not going to make a special trip I know I'm going to Louisville at least once every year. So I'm going to put a little bit of time into it. So when I can go down there, I can have a little fun, but it's not taking over my life.
Yeah. I like to tell people who work on the tribute that John said a lot of things about the tribute, but probably the most important thing he ever said was he built that hunt the way he thought the secret worked. Right. And then he did like 12 podcasts where he told you exactly how he thought the secret worked. So if you deviate, like if you listen to those and you get into his mindset and then you find you're starting to deviate, like you can ask yourself, is this something John would do? And if it's no, then it's probably wrong. I feel like the biggest problem that people have in the tribute is they deviate from what John would do. Like John's not going to do weird random anagrams. John's not going to do 10 degrees of separation. John's not going to do X, Y, or Z. He's going to be pretty blunt about everything. And once you start deviating from that, you're toast. You're done.
No, it's a fun, it's, I mean, there are parts that we have figured out an emblem of B, 3 circles 3. I'm like, that's just so cool. Because when you get there and you look at it, you're like, holy crap. That's awesome.
Yeah. The Man of Adventure Stands is a really creative way of, describing all of that, but it's so direct, and then you just get to weird. The thing that like, I think is going to kill people with the tribute. I don't know. Have you used, like Google historical aerial views at all much?
No.
Okay. So if you look at Cherokee Park, in October-ish, right around the time that the tribute was hidden. I guess I have to say it that way to keep people from yelling at me. The park was way different than it is now, especially the part around like the marsh and hill benches and the basketball courts and stuff like that. Way different. And we don't really know, like, you've got those marsh and hill benches and that fits really, really well in the verse, but we have no idea where those things were prior to when everything was renovated.
I do know, like now the just very recently they tore down
The bear is it Behringer or Bering or whatever? I know what you're talking about.
the
The
big
pavilion.
pavilion. Yes, and I'm going, God, I'm glad I got to see that before they ripped it down. But
It was nice.
you know,
But
it did eventually come down. This last time I went down, I'm like, okay, so start thinking of this thing logically, Dan. There's a lot of benches around this park that probably ain't going anywhere. And now you just told me different.
yeah,
I thought, well,
they
that
definitely went somewhere.
what a perfect marker to put in, you know, because yeah, there's a tree branch with the gem hanging from it, but I'm like, there's a lot of trees in this park, and trees get big and trees fall down. So now, like, who would use a tree as a blaze? Oh, wait.
Well, John didn't like trees. I know that because we talked a lot about trees in Charleston, and he did not like using trees in paintings because they change. Now, he didn't think the tribute was going to last very long, so it could be different here in that regard. But one thing that John absolutely 100% positively believed to his dying day was that there is something in each painting that's sort of obscure that you wouldn't notice, like just looking at the painting, but will match something on site. He believed in a dig site indicator. The fence post in Chicago, the planter in Charleston, he believed in that. And that, the side of that bench in the painting, that seems like exactly the exact same kind of thing as like the fence post in Chicago. So you're like, when you were saying like looking for benches and stuff, you were probably right on the money. But where the hell were those things?
Yeah, they got moved. Now it's just gonna make you just took something that was hard and made it
Well,
exponentially.
It blew my mind too when I realized that, because I've always said John went back and dug this thing up, right? He said it was in danger of something, and he went and dug it up, and he left the box there as far as we know, and he took the cask, right? So in order to claim the cask, you got to find the box. But he dug around for a long time and couldn't find it. And I was always like, well, that just means that the ending is obscure. Like if John couldn't find it and he knew where the damn thing was buried, but maybe he couldn't find it because all the shit was moved, you know? It sucks. Like if you go and look at that, go and look at the, and it switches like October, whatever that year is. And then like 2 months later, just go look at those two in that area where the basketball courts and the benches are, completely different. Like there's no paths. The benches aren't in the same places. There's no field. There's no nothing.
Oh, so that's all new.
It's all new. It was put in like a month after the thing was buried.
Oh, what luck.
I mean, maybe a little longer, but not too. I mean, it had changed. It changed between it being buried and its release. And I don't know that John knew that it had changed, because he never said anything. Like after its release, I don't know that he knew. Because I feel like if he knew prior to its release, he would have fixed it. You know, like he would have went back, he would have done something. He would have known like, holy shit, my entire playing field is now changed. I don't know that he knew.
Wow. You know, that's that. And if you read the book and the Thrill of the Chase, and Forrest kind of talks about that, you know, a lot of things over time change. But when you look at what's one place that will never, to the most part, really change, and it's a national park.
Yeah.
Because it's protected. For the most part. I mean,
it takes an act of Congress to build a rest area in a national park.
Right. I mean,
it's not going to change.
Yeah, and where he put that thing, there's a good chance they were never going to do anything with that spot. So I think he felt pretty comfortable. So in many ways, that was a really, as much as it's illegal to hide something in a national park, it's kind of the perfect spot.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Give it like if I don't know how much they would have cared if Jack would have just come and, like you said earlier, just come and taken it. You know, I don't know how much they would have cared because he didn't do any damage. He didn't dig any holes. He didn't do any. Just if he would have just come and took it, I don't think they would have cared.
Well, I think that's what that meeting was about, and I think maybe there was some maybe agreements made, or
Well,
maybe a slap on the wrist.
he didn't
Slap on
talk.
the wrist.
He didn't. After I remember, there was like a meeting. Shortly, it was shortly after it was announced that it was found, right? And I don't think Jack ever said where it was found. Did he? Did that come from a lawsuit or did it come from Jack? Do you remember?
No one has ever officially confirmed.
Oh, okay.
That
you guys just figured it out.
Yeah, we just figured it out. But no one, not anyone in the family, no one has said, yeah, that. I mean, in theory, there's only two people that know, and one of them is dead.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know how much Shiloh knows, or I would assume after it was found that Forrest probably talked to someone in the family about it. Yeah. Maybe.
Dude, I would hate being that kid. I say kid. Shiloh's probably like 30 or something, right?
Yeah, he's in his younger mid-30s.
I would hate being him. Like my grandfather dies and now I got to put up with all this shit. I would hate it. You can't even mourn.
Yeah, that's the thing is, so we all lost Forrest. I knew how much it hurt because he knew him so well. I mean, that was his family. And then they lost their mom within a month.
Yeah. I don't know. I would hate it. Just like just trying to mourn your family and you're sitting in court with some asshole that's like, you hacked my emails.
Yeah.
Oh well. It's the nature of the beast.
It brings all kinds out.
Yeah. How long until you think this new hunt goes off the rails? Do you want to take bets?
It's supposed to come out. The book is supposed to be released in like October.
Oh, there's a book? Oh, God.
It's a book. I don't know if it's going to be cipher based, or no one knows anything about it. I reached out to the originator because we had spoken once via Facebook Messenger, and now he ain't talking. So
I don't know who this is. Was he a big guy in the Forrest Fenn community?
No. So that's the thing is he was almost like a Jack where he was there, but nobody knew he was there.
It was just a dude with a shitload of money.
Yeah. Name is John. Supposedly he did really good with Bitcoin and made.
Oh, one of those guys.
Like he's got fuck around money, as they call it.
All right. God, I wish I had bought into Bitcoin. John Michaels, oddly enough, that man did not know anything about technology. He could not properly log into Facebook. He used to get mad at me and he was like, I'm locked out of my account and I don't understand why. I'm like, what's the error message? He's like, password is incorrect. Like, just type in the right password, dude. I don't know. He was horrible with technology. Totally into Bitcoin though. And he told me when it was like at $5,000, he was like, buy. It's like, no, dude, this is a scam. Now it's like $50,000 for a coin. Damn it, John.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder if his family ever found his wallet. I bet there's a lot of money sitting in that wallet.
Yeah, because
sister. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I'm just thinking, God, here we are. We're coming up on 4 years since the treasure was found. We still don't have the answers. We're still talking about it on occasion.
You still got a whole community of people that are still obsessed. You guys
Yep.
still got YouTube like
I
shows
mean,
every week about it.
Mike and Christy still do YouTube, not every week, but pretty close with. But most of it now is just, we're waiting on Netflix, but honestly, Netflix, like if you're thinking Netflix is going to have answers, Netflix's audience is not us.
No.
Netflix audience is the other millions of people, and the piece we're small. I mean, even if we're 100,000, that's tiny from their audience what they want. So yeah, there's they're going to tell a different story.
Yeah.
Now if they get Jack, it's a game changer.
I don't know, because even if it doesn't matter who they interview, they've got a narrative, right? They've got a narrative that they're going to tell. And maybe they maybe Jack says something in an interview that just sort of fits their narrative and they leave it in. I'm learning watching, because there's a lady filming a documentary about The Secret, right? And I'm learning what I, as a searcher, want to know about is way vastly different than what the general public wants to know about. So like, I don't know. I feel like if a documentary comes out, you guys' best bet is that story is now told, that money is now paid, those contracts are now expired, and people are allowed to talk about sort of what happened behind the scenes and what extra
And that's
stuff wasn't in the interviews. Yeah.
That's the other thing we're waiting, because there's a lot of people that we know very well that are in Netflix, and right now they're under an NDA. They can only talk about so much. So it would be interesting someday when they're not under that NDA.
Yeah. That's where your gold is going to come from. Hopefully it comes for you. I don't know if it will, but hopefully it does. So,
but what else you got for questions? What did you not get to ask?
This is an opinion. You don't know the answer to this question again. But were I a Forrest Fenn hunter? When this was found, I know there's initially going to be some drama and that shit's going to blow over. After that shit blew over, what I would want more than anything is for that community to come together and walk this verse backwards. We know where it is. Let's figure out these answers. And it doesn't seem like anybody's doing that. Why? Why? Like, is there something that's preventing? I don't know the community, so I don't know what the community knows about the puzzle. Is there not enough that's known to where you can walk it back?
So here is the best known solution that's been walked back. So we'll start at the beginning. Where the Madison River begins in Yellowstone National Park happens to be where two other rivers end. The Firehole and the Gibbons. It's been a long time, I'm sorry. Those two meet and they create the Madison. That is begin it where warm waters halt.
That makes sense.
Because you have two rivers that have warm water.
One's literally named the Fire River.
Right.
So yeah.
Which you can literally go swimming in it in the certain spots, and it's where and they're literally warm. I mean, so those two meet and they create, and that is what. So the second stanza of the poem is where the meat and potatoes of the poem is. Begin it where waters halt. Take it in the canyon down is literally, and you do exactly what it says. Take it, which it is the Madison, downstream. Not far, but too far to walk. Was always like this. Like, is that actually a clue? Is it obviously it's a distance that no one ever really knows. Even when he wrote his second book, Too Far to Walk, he puts a story in there that talks about, I think, Too Far to Walk being around 10 miles. But
I am a much different
not,
man than you and Forrest.
not far, but too far to walk.
Like 2 miles is like, let's get in the car.
Oh, come. Uh, put in below the home of Brown. That was the clue that no one that a long time ago. I don't know who, if it was Dale or somebody else, had kind of figured out that where Will Waters Halt was Madison Junction. But the home of Brown was like there. I was at um, Barnes Hole. I almost said Brown's Hole. No, at Barnes Hole, which is a little bit further down than 9 Mile Hole. There's 9 Mile Hole, there's 7 Mile Hole, and then there's Barnes Hole is almost to West Yellowstone. Like it's just inside the park. Mm-hmm. And then the next but the home of Brown happened to be 9 Mile Hole. And it was like this is still up for debate that it was a trout.
Oh my God, that's the worst.
And that there used to be a trout name of a large trout that was caught that someone named, and it was in West Yellowstone, hanging in a wall or something. Forgive me, I don't remember exact details, but from there, it's no place for the meek is the first clue at the beginning of the next stanza, and that was no place for the meek was you had to cross the Madison. And there's an actual story in the book that talks about this, and it was called No Place for, the name of the chapter was No Place for Biddies, and in that chapter, Forrest talks about the biddies tell him that he can't cross the road because he's too scared. So no place for biddies, no place for the meek. I mean, that people married them two together a long time ago, but it was just like, where is that crossing at? Well, it just happened to be 9 Mile Hole and you cross the river. I don't know, no place for me. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. So I know heavy loads were the down timber. I don't know the water, that part of that right there is, we would love some explanation on that little section right there.
Yeah.
If you are wise, have found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. But Terry scant with marble gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. I can't believe I remember this after all this. Obviously, I had the poem memorized.
You're gonna remember that until the day you die.
Oh yeah. But those 3 stanzas were the meat and potatoes of the poem that were what we considered directional. And the rest of the poem was supportive to those.
So that's why it wasn't solved, because 3/4 of what you just said is the most subjective shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you could put that to anywhere.
Yeah,
but
literally.
if you read Forrest, what you said earlier about understanding John, understanding your treasure hunt creator, because that is how their mind works. So Forrest wrote a book. He gave us a book, and if you then that got you to understand Forrest and his life and from his stories. Now, what we got caught off on, including myself, was all of the mistakes that were in the book. There were spelling errors in the book. There were quotes that were wrong, quotes that were that were quotes that were mixed, that were mixed up or told differently. And what Forrest did say once in an interview, he goes, sometimes I put mistakes in books to see if people are paying attention. I started looking at going back, as you learned more about Forrest, and okay, this is how he works. He put these mistakes because he wants us not maybe to pay attention to that particular quote, but he wants you to pay attention to that particular section. Like there's something in there, figure it out.
It's something we say. It's what we say about the secret community all the time. It's like like Forrest Fenn gave you a massive amount of information. And what I saw Searchers doing was taking scrapbooks and taking his extra books and digging in it line by line and pulling outlines and being like, this means X. You know, this is Forrest's way of telling us Y. Where when they should have been taking the whole thing as a whole and being like, this is how this person thinks.
Man. Forrest was not going to just put something in a scrapbook that was blatant.
Yeah.
You were going to have to, you might spend more time trying to figure that out than if you just pay attention to the original design of the poem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see that as a hunt creator too. I got this thing called the anniversary hunt, and I'll release. People will be like, release a clue, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll write this long thing, right? And people are like, oh, this, you know, they're digging in for like this little thing, or this is worded this way because of X, Y, or Z. Where it's like, no, you have to take the whole thing, like. It's one of my favorite phrases is you can't see the forest for the trees. You're focusing on the trees and you're missing the giant forest in front of you. And that seems to be what, I mean, and it's not just Forrest Fenn hunters, secret hunters do it too.
Yeah, that's why Jack wrote a thing about cognitive bias.
Everybody should
we
watch
are
that.
we are our own worst. Yeah, here, I mean, we don't need to pick a plug for Jack. But go search Jack Stuef on YouTube and listen to his, how long is it? Like 15
like,
minutes?
Yeah, it's 15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes.
It's important. It's an important really 15 is. Or 20 minutes. I don't know.
A lot of people hate Jack and this and that. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think he was just, you know, he figured it out. He was a little bit, he did things a little bit, I'm not going to say he's smarter than all of us, but he just did, he looked at things a little bit differently, and he figured this area out. He wasn't the first to figure this area out, but he was the first to go, it's there. And then go, okay, but it's missing, it looks like it's missing the ending marker. So I'm going to have to think differently. And a lot of people fault him for that. He didn't solve all the clues. I wrote 2 treasure hunts that neither of them were solved the way I designed them. And that's just the way treasure hunts happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like to ask, there's a big thing, and I know this was a huge thing in the Forrest Fenn community, but there's a big thing in the secret community where people think that finding one of the secret casks is going to sort of validate them and make the community respect them and make them famous, right? Now, none of those things are going to happen with the secret, but they likely could have happened with Forrest Fenn. This is a question I would love to ask Jack, but I can't. So since you've talked to him, I'm just going to ask you.
Okay.
And you can give me your opinion. This is not from Jack. This is your opinion. Do you think that finding this cask was worth it for Jack? Do you think he thinks it? I'm really wondering if you think he thinks that, but I don't want you to like speak for you. You don't know, so I don't want you to speak for him.
I'm going to do my best to answer this for Jack, and I'm going to say no.
I would agree. Like he's been through so much shit.
Oh, he went through. I mean, there's people. I mean, when he come out, he put some rules. He said, if you want to get a hold of me, here's how to do it. Here's an email address. We can converse back and forth. Do not show up at my house. Do not show up at my family's house. Don't do X, Y, and Z. And all of those rules got broken. Yeah. People showed up. I don't know that they showed up at his house, but they showed up at his family's house the day before we met. That could have almost blown everything for me getting to sit down with him, because he was not happy.
Yeah.
Like not even a little bit. And after we met, he literally, I mean, he went away. Like he stopped within a matter of a month. I don't think, besides having a probably talking with the people that were going to buy the treasure trust from him, other than that, and you broke his rules. And I don't blame him for that at all. If I was the one that found the treasure chest and people showing up at my mom's house or at my cousins or whatever.
I can't think of a single, like, aside from Rob Robel is very happy. And I think because he's so accessible, people are happy with him.
No, is he the one? Is he the one that found the one in Boston?
Chicago. He's the Chicago guy. Back in 1983, they found Chicago.
Oh, well, God, yeah, but he found that at a different time.
He's very happy about that. But everyone else, every single person that I've talked to that's found a treasure that's, that's sort of a famous treasure, has almost regretted finding it. Like Krupat, I bet Jason Krupat, the guy that found Boston, if he could go back in time right now and not find it, he would 100% do it.
I mean, because we all think that you're going to get your 15 minutes of fame, and especially with him, because he got to go on Expedition Unknown, and it was a blown up, big, awesome deal. But then there's all the repercussions of that 15 minutes.
I mean, it's just like you said with Jack. Like, people have shown up at his house. People like call his wife. They sued him. They pinged his phone or whatever. I mean, they did everything in their power. Just at the end of the day, like, that's why I asked him when we met. I'm like, do you wish you would have just found it? And I said, and let Forrest know, and just left. And he said no, because Forrest needed closure. I'm like, I left it at that, but I'm like, no, you're not. I mean, I think you could have given Forrest just closure. Maybe he meant the closure of being able to get to sit down. And I get that totally, because if I was going to find it, that was what Jack did. It was exactly what I was going to do. I was going to get it and go direct to Santa Fe, because I wanted to get my 15 minutes sitting down with Forrest. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully more than 15 minutes, and ask him, let's go through the book, let's do all this. And supposedly Jack never got to do a lot of those things. I couldn't figure out why until recently, because was when Jack just went to Santa Fe. He didn't just go to Santa Fe and go knock on Forrest's door and walk in. On his way to Santa Fe, Forrest told his attorney, my treasure got found. And his attorney went, well, you can't have him come into your house. And we need to meet at an office. And Jack had to wait. Jack took in Santa Fe and had to wait a couple of days in a hotel or something. And
I remember when those pictures came out, though. It was like at a bank or something, or a lawyer's office. I know searchers have ultimately found out exactly where those were and found the table, and probably said, because they're crazy. But I remember when those came out, like, that's when the conspiracy theories started, over a Starbucks cup or something. People were like, these were taken forever ago because Starbucks changed their straws. It's like, what are you guys doing?
That's treasure hunters, though. They nail your ass on technicalities. The coolest part was, one cool part was that I got to sit down and talk with Jack, but the other one that was even bigger than that is Dan Barbarisi. Dan having the smarts to figure out how to contact Jack, and then to write that, to get him in the book, the ending of his book, and then to be able to go see the treasure and go through the treasure. I'll always be a little bit jealous that Dan, even though I got to sit and talk with Jack, Dan didn't get to meet Jack, but he got to go through the treasure. So in a way, we both got two Dans got something really cool out of that.
Dan's another guy I've never talked to, even though I would like to. I haven't read his Forrest Fenn book. Like, I've skimmed it, but
I listened to it on audiobooks. It's probably in there. I do have it. And when he was being interviewed, like, I was in the chat, and I was trying to reach out to him, because I wanted to kind of talk to him about meeting with Jack, but I just wanted to like sign a couple books first so I could give, I've always bought, getting signatures and then giving stuff away stuff, but he wouldn't, he's never really had any interest in talking with me. And I don't know
Well,
if he
Dan
didn't
likes
like.
The Secret. Maybe we can get him on this show. I know he wrote a book where it was like 3 pages of it was about The Secret. I can't remember which book that was. It wasn't.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There was some other book that he wrote.
Okay.
What other books did he write? There was one. I can't remember what it was. It was about New York, though. Dan Barbarisi. Let's see what books he wrote. Was it Dueling with Kings? Maybe it wasn't Chasing the Thrill. I can't remember. One of his books had like, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 pages about The Secret. So I'll get with Rob from Live from the Code Bar, and we'll see if we can't get Dan on, and then you can come back and ask your questions. Because I'd really just want to talk to him about drama. Like, he seems like a guy that he knows the drama and he won't mind dishing it out.
I mean, Dan got really involved with the chase. Well, he was involved with it, first of all, a little bit before I did, but he got himself in with like Fenbury, and I never got to go to a Fenbury. Every year I go to down to Vegas to the World Series of Fen, but Fenbury was even bigger.
Yeah, I've seen pictures that those things were huge.
And Forrest would come, and it was everything that you thought it would. I wish I could have gone.
I don't understand the World Series of Fen. Is it just a bunch of hunters playing poker?
So it's a lot. No, I mean, yes and no. It's a lot more than that. It's yes. The ending thing is a poker tournament.
Where just K-Pro and Calazars just take all your money? Because it appears that they are good.
They are very good, but Mike and Christy have never won.
Oh,
Mike's made the final table a few times, but so poker players will understand this. It is hard to play poker against people that don't know how to play poker, and a lot of the people playing poker are not professional poker players. So it becomes, most people, if you play a lot, you play in a certain way, and these people are just like, I got a 2-9 offsuit all in, and they'll catch the cards they need. It's like no one else in their right mind would do that. But anyways, it's a lot. Vegas is an absolute blast because there's other little small events and meeting people and parties. And one year, Mike and Christy got married, and it was just, it's just getting together. It's getting together with friends. It's really what it is. And drama seems to stay. It seems to stay on YouTube. And when people get together in person and actually have to look at someone in the eye, suddenly you're not such a dick.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like there's some keyboard warriors, and then when they get together.
Yep. I was just going to use that word, keyboard warriors. All of a sudden they're like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and give each other a hug. And, it's.
Yeah. Some of the people that hate me the most have been like, "Hey, let's get together and have some coffee." Okay. And they're just perfectly fine. And so they get back online the next day.
Did YouTube change The Secret?
Yes. No. YouTube really didn't. Not in the way that YouTube changed Fen.
Yeah. Because
Expedition Unknown did.
Of course, I don't know. I don't know what Forrest Fenn was like without YouTube because I wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
When I got around, Toby and Shelley was the A Gypsy's Kiss was the channel, and that's what I found and went, oh my God, there's this whole team of people that talk about. And then I found, and there were others, and I got to meet, and back then there was like, oh my gosh, you could watch Forrest Fenn 7 days a week.
Yeah, I really liked that back in the day. Back when like a year or two before the Fenn hunt was found, I remember Mike used to put out like a schedule. Like YouTubers had a schedule so that nobody conflicted with each other. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
it was awesome. It was like this person gets off at this time and then you jump over to this stream. And it was even like they would incorporate little smaller stream people who only had like 2 or 3 people watching, you know?
Yeah.
They
Yep.
would still include them.
There was the big channels, and then there was more private channels, just one guy in his cell phone driving in his car.
Yeah.
But he would just talk, he would think out loud. And you could listen to that stuff for hours, just like because it's really neat how people looked at different perspectives. And yeah, it kind of just became life consuming. So in many ways, I'm glad this is over.
But yeah, no, the YouTube hasn't changed the secret in that way. We don't the secret doesn't have that big of a YouTube presence, and I think because Forrest Fenn, the puzzle itself is easy to explain to someone new because it's a poem. You know, you don't need a lot of backstory to jump in. You can you can you can watch a YouTube video, even if it's just talking about a specific line in that poem or it's relating to a specific line or whatever. You have a very small frame of reference that people need to understand, where The Secret has a huge frame of reference you need to understand before you can take anything away from an intelligent conversation on YouTube. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
there aren't, other than me, there aren't really any show. I mean, there's a couple of people who post occasionally, but mostly on YouTube with The Secret, it's like random people with a cell phone rambling for 30 minutes about why there's something buried in Peoria or whatever, you know? The Expedition Unknown changed our hunt more than anything else.
Yeah, it changed a lot of. If you that, I think that's as a treasure hunt. If you can get yourself on Expedition Unknown, then you just kind of get going.
Yeah, whether that's good or bad
Yeah,
is up for
that's
debate.
very. I was just in New York, and I was thinking when I was in there, like, there's a cache somewhere in this town. I'm pretty sure. And so
Somewhere.
I've been to New York many, many, many times, and of course I've been all over Central Park, and I've been around the Times Square area. But this time, and I've been down by the trade centers and stuff. But there's that hole in between Midtown and downtown. And my wife and I, we were looking up, like we were like, let's go for pizza. But there's this Dave Portnoy. He does pizza reviews on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I looked up and all right, I'm like, oh, cool. There's the old coal-fired pizza. There's a coal-fired pizza oven, and so we jumped on the train and got there and walked. And we got there too early before the place opened. So we were like walking around, like it was close to Chinatown and stuff. It's like that's a whole different world. It's a whole different part of New York I'd never experienced. It's quiet. There's no people. There's no honking, and it's very different cultures and stuff. And it's like, now this might be a place, this stuff has been here for a long time and it hasn't changed. Like obviously anything around the trade centers and I mean, look at New York 50 years ago till now. It's like,
I mean, look
massive.
at New York 15 days ago from now, and everything's changed.
The park, I'm sure even the park is somewhat changed over time.
Yeah. It's so difficult because like New York is going to end up being a lot like Forrest Fenn. I feel because Forrest knew exactly what he wanted to do and knew exactly how he wanted to word his poem, and Byron, being from New York, will have worded it sort of the same way through his interpretation of his surroundings. So I feel like in order to solve that, you're going to end up having to be like Jack, one way or another. You either get into Forrest's head or get into Byron's head and figure out what he was thinking, or whatever, you hack into that lady's computer and steal her solutions. However you want to do it. I feel like New York's gonna end up being that way because it's one of 12 puzzles it's been there since the beginning, and we still can't even agree on a borough. So it's gonna be tricky. I don't know that one will ever be found.
I just ran through all 5 boroughs.
Well, you were probably within 200 yards of the cast.
Yeah, that's if he was only around to tell me,
Yeah.
hey, this is I ran the New York City Marathon. Was I close?
So it's cool to me though that you're working on the tribute. I didn't know you were working on the tribute.
Not. Yeah. I mean, not. I haven't done much since I went down in October. Yeah, early October every year is when I go down, and I had some ideas and I went down, and then I went, well, that didn't work out. So then I got some notes in a little folder. Then I'd like to I might take what you gave me tonight, a little bit different way to think about things, and go do. Now that
Somebody
I
somebody asked, do you think if John hid the cask and then released the hunt and then found out later that the park was changed, do you think he would have said anything?
That's a very, very good question. I don't
Yeah.
know, John. I don't know what
Would
his
would you
me.
if it was your hunt?
I would have been Houston. We have a huge problem, and I think I would have had to have.
I
I
don't
would have
think
had to have.
I don't think John would have.
Oh,
I don't
so
know that. I don't know that for sure.
I
But
say
I
that's
think
the thing is I never knew John. I never knew John at all. Um,
I feel like in John's eyes that would have made it more legitimately tied to the secret. Because over all this time stuff's changed with the secret. We're still able to figure stuff out.
but
You
you
should be
can
able to
figure.
figure
I
it out
mean,
too.
if things were moved in this day and age, there's records, there's videos, and there's satellite image. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
You just got to be confident. You just have to be very, very confident of whatever it was buried next to that got moved to go like, I know this. I know this is what it is, and then start figuring out like how we're going to find out where that was and
Yeah.
whatever, so I can go.
I don't know. That change is so
So,
drastic.
so yeah, the last time I went, like I was like, I took my backpack and so I took what we clean rifles with, and they're really short, but they thread together, and
Mhm.
it's only like a quarter inch, so you can probe really easy with them. I just never found anything that I felt strongly enough to have the guts to actually do it, because there's people all over the place in that park all of the time. You
Yeah.
can't. There are certain areas you can go where you're kind of like, okay, I'm kind of alone here, or if I wanted to do something, but
Well, I mean,
I,
in another, just like we were talking before, if you take some of the things, because John slipped up a lot when he was, and so did Kit. Kit slipped up a lot when he was talking too. Like Kit once said that he was the lookout for John when John was burying it, which means John was somewhere where he couldn't see people, but Kit could, but they could talk to each other. Like John was hidden behind something. Um, he said that someone did walk past while John was bearing it, so it's somewhere someone would walk past, you know. I don't know. There's a lot of
that
he slipped up with a lot of stuff.
what I would tell Kit or anyone, when you do a treasure hunt, just shut up. Yeah,
Shut
I
up.
mean, yeah, if you want to go on and promote your hunt, talk talk as little as you can.
Yeah.
Do not answer. Do not elaborate on a question. Yes, no, 2 word, 3 word answer. It just because you're excited and you get into it and you don't realize what you're doing. Because I was guilty.
Well,
I did it. I did it to myself. And
I think the tribute's a little different because they didn't want it to last a super long time. Like Kit, I think Kit's like, you guys should find this shit right now. Like, I want this to be
is
over.
he is are people bugging him?
Yeah,
Is
he's
he getting a
over it.
little?
He's over it. You know, he's like, it was a project and it was fun. It was something that I did with my friend, and you know, it's true. It's true to my heart, but it's not my life's work. So I think he wants it to be over. But and it's the same with the anniversary. It's like, God, I wish that was over. Somebody
I
go
think it's
find that
neat.
thing.
I, I'm always so jealous when I see you and you're with his dad, and you're getting a painting or something. Like, oh man, that's just cool. Good on you.
I
That
it,
you that they have enough respect for you, and you've done enough good things that
that was a lot of fun. hanging out with them, like, oh god, because we had to go do another interview for the documentary, so I had to go back to Ohio, and I sat in on his interview, and before the interview, we're like setting up, and it's a secret searcher's dream, because he's like, hang on, I got to go down in the basement. Here, George, help me with this, and he's just handing me like the Roanoke painting. It's like, just go put that somewhere. Like, what do you want?
In my car.
Yeah, I'll just shove it up my shirt real quick, John, and then walk away. Yeah, it was so cool. But I think, like, you just have to realize that he's just a guy, you know?
Yep.
Kit's just a guy. Kit likes playing first person shooters, and he's just a dude.
It's probably a burden that he just doesn't really want anymore, because he kind of got. So you got to watch what you say. You got to keep your, of who he's around. Now, did you take yourself out of the hunt?
Out of both of them, yeah. I no longer search for the secret I've never searched for the tribute. I'm just sort of like, I'm in a weird place where I'm just sort of like an archivist now, and I help conversations happen.
And a lot of people in the Fenn hunt were like that. I'm sure you've heard of Cynthia Beecham. Cynthia knew Forrest very well. And even a better example would be Dale. Dale Neitzel had more access to Forrest than anybody that wasn't family. And he was just like you, or he was a huge searcher. And I wonder if he would have eventually told himself, like, I need to take myself. I wonder if he ever felt that he needed to maybe take himself out, because you get so much access to the person. But then the thing is, at the end of the day, all the people that, I don't know how much you missed, but at the end of the day, I don't know, all the people that had the closest access to Forrest still didn't find it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people think, because John and I made an agreement for me to get out. It was when we did the first interview. Before the first interview I ever did with him, we had sort of a working relationship where I just sort of went to him with any problems in the secret, and it elevated to become an actual friendship. And when we did that first interview, there was almost an ultimatum, but it was sort of agreed upon that if we were to remain friends, it would be, if we were to remain friends and I were to ever find a cask, people would automatically call like inside baseball. So I had to make a choice. Like, I could remain friends with John, or I could search for the cask. And I was like, that's an easy choice. I'll just, like, friendship is way more important to me than this cask. And I think that's when, like, he started to trust me, and then I showed him that I'm no longer working on anything.
Now, did you have one of the original paintings?
Yeah, it's right there. Well, you can't see it, but
I can't see it.
It's right there.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Sort of focus. There you go. Yeah.
So
and one of the dolls, it's back there too.
So the end of the day, you win.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a friendship with a pretty neat person.
I called Brian Zinn, who found Cleveland. As soon as I got that, I called him. I was in the car freaking out. I was like, Brian, I need a lawyer and a friend. I was like, John just gave me the Florida painting. And he was like, well, George, there's 12 casks and there's only one of those. Cause I was like, I don't know if I'm in your club. And he's like, no, you're in a club far beyond ours, sir.
That's
so it was crazy. I
know. That's why I would like the I didn't get to find the Fenn treasure, and I got to sit down. I'm the only one, I pretty much can say that with confidence, that ever got to sit down and talk with them about it.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't sit down and talk about it, but sit down and talk with him. But then eventually, we talked about all kinds of stuff, and it's
so I don't know how much it was a neat. Go ahead.
It
I'm
was
sorry.
just saying, it was an experience that when I got done with it, I knew enough that I'm going to forget so much of this, and I set out and I put so much of it to paper as I could remember at the time. And after that, once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember so I'll go add to it just because I always want to remember that experience. So
Thankfully, I have mine on film. I didn't
yeah,
understand. It was like I came to John's house with a camera, and he was like, it was bad. It was his studio. It was dark. It was badly lit, and he was like, put the camera over here, and I focused it on him, and he was like, we need to both of us get in this shot, and I was like, well, it's gonna look worse. I was like, let's just put you in there, and I can B-roll me in later. And he's like, no, I need to get your reaction. And I'm like, what the hell do you need my reaction for? Like, nobody wants to see my reaction, John. And he's like, no, just do it. So he made me put the camera where we were both in frame, and I didn't understand until the end. And I was like, oh my God. And then that happened. Like when he handed it to me, I went backwards and I went out of frame. So you really couldn't see me anyway.
I don't know if I had to have seen that, but maybe I haven't. When we get off,
I'll
tell
shoot
me
you
what
the link. Yeah.
shoot me the link. It's good times. That's really cool.
Yeah. Like my whole reaction's in there. It's just like, holy
I mean,
shit. I can't take this.
I know if I ever got to meet you and I was at your house, to be like, can I touch it?
Yeah. Oh, dude. So people come over all the time and they're just like, can I look at it? I'm just like, here, I'll take it off the wall and hand it to him. This guy named Graydon came over once and he's staring at it and he's like, people say that they see an alligator in here and I can't see it. And I was like, yeah, they see it right here. And I pointed it out. He's like, I still can't see it. So I was like, hang on. And I went to the desk and I grabbed a dry erase marker and it's right here. And I outlined the alligator and he freaked out. It was like he was having a heart attack. It's like, it's just glass. You can draw on it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I try, like, almost feel bad having it because I have access to something that other people don't have access to. So I try to go out of my way to make sure everybody has as much access to it as they possibly can.
I went through the same thing when I got to meet Jack. Jack told me, because you are the only one I've ever talked to. And I'm like, kind of thought that. And then since then, Jack went away. So I always went through a feeling of, God, I wish, I almost feel guilty, like, because I was the one that got to do it. And I know so many other people wanted so many different questions, but I wasn't there to interview him.
Mm.
I was there to get his signature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
and that turned into a whole freaking debacle.
Well,
my God.
It's just your signature, right? You just signed it for him.
No,
because you're Jack.
Because they say he spelt his last name wrong because his penmanship is so messy.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're like, he doesn't even know how to spell his last name.
Everything gets torn apart. It's fine. I don't know. I feel pretty the exact same way when I interviewed John because I'm a horrible interviewer. I have really no questions ever prepared, and I go into interviews hoping for a conversation because I feel like interviews, when they're just a conversation between two people, are way more interesting than if I'm like, what is your inspiration for this painting? You know what I'm saying? I feel like just a conversation is way more interesting. So every time I release an interview, people are like, dude, you should have asked him this, or you should have asked them this. I'm like, well, you should, get a better YouTuber. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but the thing is when you're asking them questions, you're smart enough to know, like, there's things that are off limits that you can't ask. And I was the same as I was with Jack. I knew there were things that were off limits.
Yeah, they're just sort of unspoken.
But yet he kind of wanted to talk about some of that stuff, so I just let him talk. And I wish I would have had a video, even a hand recorder. But anyways,
I did have an interesting experience. Did you ever, when you were interviewing or when you were talking to Jack, did you have to, and don't elaborate on this, just yes or no, did you have to correct him on anything? Because that That is the most fun. That's the absolute most fun, is when you're interviewing someone and you have to correct them on something. Because when we were doing the interview with John for the documentary, John was going through the list of cities for the paintings, right? He's like Chicago and Roanoke and yada yada yada, and he got to Milwaukee and he was like, and Minneapolis, and he kept saying Minneapolis over and over and over again, and I'm like, John, it's Milwaukee. He's like, why do I keep saying Minneapolis? And it's because he had like a show or something. He had been focused on Minneapolis because of either a show or something. It was crazy.
Can I correct you?
Sure.
It's not Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis.
Whatever. He said Minneapolis, and he's from up there. But it was so weird. He was like, I've got Minneapolis, whatever. I've got it on my brain. And I was like, it's Milwaukee. Like, you're going to get me assassinated if you keep saying,
oh my God. Yeah. Everyone's like, wait a minute. There's a gash in Minneapolis.
That was the most fun, having to correct like your hero. Like, you're wrong, John.
Hey, did you go to Daytona again this year?
Yeah, but I didn't go to the race. I went during race week. Some friends wanted to go.
Okay, because if I say go to Daytona, I'm speaking about the 500. But
yeah, I go to Daytona twice a week. I work there. But yeah, I assumed you meant for race week. I went. Some friends wanted to go to an event that was just down from the Speedway, but I didn't.
Because if I didn't, I don't remember if I actually did or not. I think I did. Thank you for you got me all this cool stuff from the race. And
yeah, no problem.
Like one day my wife goes, you got a package here. I'm like,
well, you asked for it. You were like, send me some swag. I was like, okay.
I send that to everyone. No one actually does it.
I do it. If you ask me to send you swag, I do. Yeah.
Sweet. I got to wait till you go someplace cool.
Next time I go to John's house, I get a text. Dan, send me some swag.
Swag.
Yeah, no, it's fun. We Rachel's job, because of what she does, she gets free tickets for stuff like that. So we get to sit. I think we weren't at the finish line. We were like 6 or 7 seats past the finish line, but we were like 4th row.
Oh, garbage tickets out.
Yeah, they sucked. I couldn't stand them. And it was all executive seats, so it was like. It was a whole area. I don't know if you ever watched the race. As soon as they go past the finish line, look in the stands, and there's one section that's just empty because it's all like Fox Sports executives and stuff, people who get tickets but don't go. So that's what we were, just like 2 people. We had our own row. The row in front of us was empty. It was great.
Oh, wow.
And that's what it's like every time we get tickets. And sometimes she'll get tickets and she'll give them to coworkers and stuff. So we don't, and that was what happened this year. But yeah, when we do get to go, it's a lot of fun.
I used to be like this huge NASCAR when it was, back in the day when both with Earnhardt and Junior and Tony Stewart and everybody, Gordon, everybody's retired, and I don't even know any of the new guys now.
William Byron won this year. And he's the de facto secret NASCAR racer because of Byron. Okay. So he won. I've got something that you'll love if you liked NASCAR back then. My grandfather was really big into NASCAR in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Like, I think he stopped watching when Junior first started. Right?
That would have been, yep, around then.
What he did was he collected NASCAR stuff, but mostly NASCAR cards, like little trading cards, right? He died, and he gave them to me. Thousands upon tens, hundreds of thousands of cards. I've got a bookshelf, floor to ceiling bookshelf, just full of books of cards. Like,
holy crap.
And what he used to do was he would find the addresses for the shops that would work on the cars, and he would send cards to them and have them signed and send back. And 90% of the cards that I have are signed. I've got like hundreds of Dale Earnhardt signed cards and Richard Petty signed cards. But even going down to like, there's this company, I think it was called Trax, that made cards that had pit crew members. Like pit crew members had cards. I've got pit crew members that have signed them. But like Davey Allison, Alan Kowicki, all these dead guys, I got their signed cards. I have one signed card that's it's a rookie card called Young Guns from a thing called Action Pact, and it's Jeff Gordon, Kenny Wallace, and I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. And it was the year where it was all their first race, their first time racing in NASCAR. So it was their rookie card. The three of them in the card together. They're all in like camo and shit. All three of them signed it. I've got just crap tons of those cards. I can't.
Hey, George.
Yeah.
Send me some swag.
You want like an Earnhardt signed card? I've got them falling out of my ass, dude. You could have one. Yeah, I don't, but like nobody around here. It's like, what am I going to do with these things? I can't sell them. Nobody wants them. It's weird.
I don't know what would I try putting one on eBay once. I don't know.
I've done that. It's slow. I'll send you some pictures. It'll blow your mind. It blows everybody's mind. They're all like, "You're going to be rich." Like, yeah, okay. Find somebody that'll buy them. Anyway.
So back to this. So the latest is, I don't know if Shiloh's writing a book.
Oh.
And we've asked him where is it at in the book stages, and his answer to me was basically something to do with you have no idea how long this stuff takes. So I think it's in the publisher
early stages. Well, I mean, you got to write it, and then it's got to be edited. Then you got to find a publisher, and you got to work out a deal, and it's got to be printed or re-edited, and yeah. Write a book's crazy.
So Shiloh's writing a book. The new treasure hunter John has written a book. I guess the guy that's done this, he writes children's books.
Oh.
So won't be his first book, so that'll be interesting.
All right.
I think I'm going to sit that. I don't need to be getting involved in, it just because it consumes your life.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking prizes that, gold that's, they're talking millions of dollars. It's like, nah.
The thing that irritates me about stuff like that too, and I know it's just a me personally thing. It's not a bad thing. It's nothing negative against treasure hunt makers. It's like you want to release a hunt, but you also want to make it about you. Like Forrest did it. He released a hunt. It was a poem, but it was in a book about himself. There was the guy, forget the name of the hunt, but it came out recently. The book was like $90. And it was like a 200-page book about some guy. And I was like, I don't need, I have no, if you just release a treasure hunt, I will work on your treasure hunt. I will pay for it, but I have no interest in reading your life story. So that's what I fear.
The problem with those is first of all, $90.
Yeah.
Now, this new book is like $50, and
I get the price. If you're self-publishing, you gotta charge a shitload for that book.
Oh, you do.
But still,
my treasure hunts I charged $30, but you got the cool coin.
Yeah.
And
my friend released one. She self-published it. This is like a promo. Nobody knows about this because you can't really buy it. You have to know her. It's weird. Like when you get into not treasure hunt so much, but when you get into niche puzzle communities, people release puzzles just for puzzle people, and you kind of have to know the people to get access to the puzzle. So my friend Kat, she did a podcast with me. This won't probably mean anything to you because you probably didn't see it, but she did a podcast with me once called The Subtlety of Witches. She deciphered like a 15th century enciphered book. She was the only, it had been, no one knew what this book was until Kat and her friend came along and they deciphered it and found out it was a dictionary and it was boring. But anyway, she released a book And it's the Constellation Prize. And you can't get it unless you know her. You have to buy it like from her. But it's just the cutest thing. It has nothing to do with her life. It's just a puzzle. And that's what, like, I wish more people would do this. She even like puts the solutions in the back. Like if you can't figure it out.
No.
That's so cool. I wish more puzzle people would do that. Instead of being like, read my life story.
Yeah, I do like I liked Forrest's hunt because it felt like everyone had a chance. It wasn't ciphers. And now I've done some I did a couple of hunts that were really cipher based, and I'm like, and one had been, oh, what was the name of that hunt? It had been out for a long time, and it got forgotten about. Well, then somebody in the community picked up on it, and it kind of brought it back to life. And I bought in. It was like $40, but you got this huge, cool fold-out map, and it was all ciphers. And I went, okay, I don't know shit about ciphers, but I started to teach myself and listen to other people on YouTube. And eventually I started figuring some of it out, but it was super hard. I mean, obviously no one ever figured this thing out, and to the point where it got forgotten about. And but then eventually a team of like 4 or 5 real serious cipher people got together and they cracked it. Yeah. They figured it out.
I mean, ciphers are almost the only way to make a puzzle book that's not subjective. Like there's no, if someone makes a cipher puzzle book and then dies, it can still be solved 100% because ciphers are objective. They have one answer, you know?
Yep.
But like you said, you limit the amount of people who can work on it. Not everybody's a cipher person. Of course, now with the internet, there's tools you could, use.
Yeah. Yep. And so then it's almost better to go back the other way and like before it says hunt or like, I think the secret is also, that's just such a neat hunt. I really like how the secret was done.
Yeah. It's subjective though. By the way, I don't know if you're getting tired. We generally go until 10, but then we go as long as the guest wants to go. So at this point, we end when you say we end. I enjoy the conversation. I'm not trying to push you off.
I'm good. I'm just sitting here just talking to you. So it's
okay. So as long as you're cool, I'm cool.
Yep. And if you have any more questions or chat, I can't imagine that anyone would have.
They were talking about NASCAR for a while. So something happened on Facebook where like 15 or 20 minutes of our conversation stopped. Facebook flagged it as copyright, like that we were playing music or something when we weren't. It's been going on YouTube though. But you're not. So we've got like at peak, we had like 100 people watching. I don't know. It doesn't show me on Facebook how many people are watching now, but you've still got quite a bit on YouTube. But yeah, they're not asking questions though.
They're probably just listening. They're probably watching TV and listening at the same time.
That's probably what they're doing.
What I do.
I'm tired of hearing George. That's what they're thinking.
I don't ever like Mike and K-Pro. I don't generally watch them live. It's the next day when I'm working in the studio, put my headphones on and just hit play.
Yeah. I've watched some of their shows. I just think like because I'm somebody said Facebook says content's not available. Well, that's why. It's on YouTube. Who cares? People will watch it later. I've watched some of their streams before, but I think it's because I don't know that much about Forrest Fenn. I just can't get into it. I like when occasionally Mike is like, let's talk about this new hunt. And I'll watch those. Those are fun. Especially like seeing him try to get into them and like initial thoughts and stuff. Those are always fun.
Now they're creating their own hunt. I think it's going to be a book. But I know one of the prizes is one of the pieces, one of the gold coins from the Fenn cache. So
Everybody's writing a book. I should write a book. Copper, let's write a book. What do you want to write a book about? We'll
I
sell
actually,
it. Oh God, no!
see, I don't.
Don't
So
tell
I
me I
don't.
made
I
that
don't.
joke and you're writing a book.
No, no, no. I don't write. So I will never do a hunt, my own hunt that will be a book because I don't like to read.
Yeah,
Big. Uh, I don't like. I like to read, but I like to read short stories, or
yeah,
you lose me. So when these books, like even Forrest's book, that was like pushing it on the length of what I like to read. But Forrest's book had me hooked literally within a chapter.
yeah,
It wasn't really a chapters in his book, but you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah. I get you.
Um, and then I was just like, I sat there the whole afternoon and read that book. And that I clearly, if I want to a book, I'm going to listen to a book on audiobooks because I can do it while I work. And then I love that.
Somebody did
So
ask a
you'll
question. I want to answer real quick. They asked if they missed anything because they were late to the chat, and they asked if there were new developments on Forrest Fenn. Depending on how invested you are in Forrest Fenn, no.
we can go go over that just but
Have there been new developments other than the documentary and Shiloh writing a book?
documentary. So Netflix should be out soon, but it keeps getting bumped. It was supposed to have been I don't know exactly all the details on
Is it done
how
by
that.
Netflix, or is it a production company that's being paid?
So
Netflix?
there's a production company that did it and sold it to Netflix. So and I'm guessing that's a little bit where the time takes
Netflix is
because
having some problems right now.
so
All right.
Otherwise no. There isn't anything made. I don't know how this person that asked, I don't know when the last time they heard an update was. So that's kind of hard
that's the problem.
to answer. I mean,
Copper said he was Jack, and that Jack sold him the solutions, and it was actually hidden in Walmart in Seattle.
Who said that?
Oh no, me. It's you said that. I'm giving them updates. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I thought someone in chat said that. I'm like, this is somebody I must know, and they're being a complete smartass.
So
it was you.
Back to what it's me being the smart. It's always me being the smartass, Dan. Back to what you were saying before. I do like to read, and I think that's why I don't like the book treasure hunts, like especially the autobiographical book treasure hunts, because I like to read, and those people don't know how to write. Right? Like they think they know, but they can't write. Like you can write, you can have a mastery of the English language, but not know how to compose a book. Right? So I read these people's books and I'm like, the sentence structure sucks. None of this makes any sense. The pacing's horrible. Like I can't slog through this, and I don't want to, just to figure out if you're misspellings or because you can't hire an editor or if because it's part of a, some puzzle. Like that's why I don't like these books. It's generally just.
So that's why when I wrote my 2 treasure hunts, they were very short. Like you could scroll. It wasn't a book. I was on the website and you could scroll through it and read it. And I made characters. I mean, I have the mind to do it and the creative mind to come up with. And then, as I come up with the characters and the storyline, I also had at the same time had to be thinking like I need to be weaseling in clues and stuff. And man, I thought I was so clever. I wrote my first one. I hid that chest in my most favorite special spot. And I had this all designed, and there was so the ending to both of my hunts where you needed to find the blaze was a geo marker that was in stone. It was in the granite on top of the first one was on top of a peak in Minnesota, and then you actually had to lay your coin that you bought on it, and there was an arrow, and that pointed you, and then you had to go back to the poem, and the poem gave you the how many steps to walk, and then you had to do a little bit of searching when you got to the general area.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man, I hope I didn't write this too hard. It took less than 24 hours. And I was devastated. So when I did the second one, I had somebody reach out that said, Dan, you did such a good job with it. It's such a neat concept. If you ever do it again, get a hold of me and I'll help you with making it harder. And I did, and we wrote in. Fortunately, we wrote in Cipher. It was Cipher based, but it was also story based.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a multiple thing, and that one took about 3 months, and I was happy with that. I was hoping for a little bit longer, but at least with that one, everyone that bought into the hunt had a good opportunity, and I had time and a chance.
Yeah. I've only done 2 like major style hunts. I did the anniversary hunt, and then I did a mini hunt for Jenny's Masquerade Tribute thing last year. And the mini hunt was a video game. Like I made a video game from the ground up, which was a lot of fun. And then I did not the tribute, I'm sorry, the anniversary. The anniversary feels like a book to people, like it's really, really long. But I have this like habit of making simple things that look like there's something else, and that's where the complexity lies. Like you see this thing and you think it's one thing, but it's not. You got to figure out what it actually is. Like I made this, I made this this YouTube show once, just as an example, that was teaching people what one-time pads are. Do you know what one-time pads are? It's a cipher that's, imagine a sheet of paper that's just numbers, and they're divided into like 5 number sections. Like it's columns of 5 numbers. So 5 numbers here, 5 numbers here, 5 numbers here. And then I made this little mini puzzle that looks like that, but that's not what it is. Like it was a super simple puzzle. It was latitude. The numbers were latitude and longitude coordinates. You use those latitude and longitude coordinates and find a city, whatever city it points to, the first letter of that. Then you go through each of them, take the first letter, and it spells out the answer, right? But it looks like what throws you off is not the complexity of the puzzle. It's not that it's the cipher that most people wouldn't be able to get. It just looks like something else. You just have no idea. Just like in the video game, people were playing the video game for a month thinking there was something you had to do in the video game, but there wasn't. In each screen of the video game, there was one character moving, and all you had to do was count the number of times it moved, then equate that to a letter, and boom, there you go. Cool. Yeah. But people were like, there were battles. You could go into battle. You could battle John Jude Palancar. It was fun. People were trying to beat him. There's no way to beat him. But that's awesome. That's where the complexity of my puzzles come in. They look like something that they're not.
So after the trolls, so my first hunt, after my second hunt was the Trolls Cache, and after that, Jenny actually asked me for probably the same thing you did. Would you write a treasure hunt for the is it the Masquerade?
Mm-hmm. Masquerade.
Yeah, Tribute.
Yeah.
And so I was I just happened to be the time of the year where I'm down in Florida doing art shows, and I had the day before I was driving up the coast, and there's Lover's Key State Park. It's over by, it's on the other side of Florida, obviously, from you.
Okay.
And it just like, I got to do something with that, because I kind of hiked around on it with the wife and stuff. So I wrote a hunt called, I think it was called Finding Love, something like that. Anyways, it was a spin. Of course, so my characters in my treasure hunts was the Copper Princess, and of course their dad was the king and stuff. So I wrote it was a spin-off. I was when the king found his wife, and where they met, and it was, so I hid a I hid a proxy item in the park. I'm like, I am not going to hide anything of value in this park and get my ass in trouble. I'm like, I'm just, I hit a proxy item.
Yeah.
Anyways, that one actually went for like, and that one wasn't meant to go long. I'm like, this isn't supposed to go months or years.
Is that the one was the cartoon? Because that was amazing.
Yeah, so the cartoon was the first, and
that was the Trolls Cache.
that was, yes, I did them for both the Trolls Cast and the Magic. What did I name the first one? The Magic Box.
I just remember seeing that cartoon and being like, "Wow, that's awesome."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, those aren't you can get those you can just get those made.
Yeah, but like people say that, but you did. You got it made. Like that.
Yeah,
like
I wrote a storyline. I wrote it out with individual blocks, and then sent it in, and they come back with some stuff. I'm like, okay, well, this, change this, and this a little bit, and back and forth a few times, and then we eventually had it. Like, I did so much for those hunts. I put so much into them, and when that first one got solved so quickly, it was just like, oh, damn.
But it was still cool, man. And I find that the experience of making the hunt is worth it. You know, like I think even if none of the stuff that I've ever made got solved, it would still be worth it just because it's fun to make.
Did you see the video of the guys that found my first one?
Mm-mm.
So the first one was on a peak. The second highest peak in Minnesota was called Carlton Peak, and they were from the Minneapolis area, and this was up the North Shore, north of Duluth. So it's 3 hours, 3.5 hours to the parking lot, and then about a 45-minute hike. Anyway, so these guys they figured it out. The hunt went live. I think these guys, like 3 of them got together and they had this thing figured out, by I think the next morning or afternoon, but they waited until the following day. I think it happened to be a Saturday. I think I launched it on a Thursday. So Saturday morning, early in the morning, like even like in the middle of the night almost, they take off. So they're documenting this whole thing with the camera of their drive up, and they get to the parking lot, and then they go the hike, and just like, you got to be in a little bit of physical shape to just hike up this to the top of this peak. And I knew they were going to it, but it was winter up there. I'm like, they're never going to find it because there's no way they're going to find this geo marker. It's going to be covered with snow and ice. They're never going to find it. Yeah. Well, that's where they were able to just, like, there's only so much space at the top of this peak, and most of it's wide open, but there's this one area that's got this big stand of trees, and that's where it was. And they used a metal detector, which they were kind of not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't give a crap. The state of Minnesota had some choice words, but
all right, you guys aren't allowed to just use metal detectors.
Not on a. It is not a national park. It's
state park.
Yeah, it was federal land though, or something, and that's where I think a state land would have been so bad, but it was more
like just BLM land or whatever it was.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't BLM. It was like state park, but I think more like national, but not national park. It's not the word I'm looking for. Anyways,
it was protected by somebody.
It was. Yeah, and they so, but the cool part of that, the best part of the whole thing is the reason I did this was to give that person that feeling of that I never got to have by laying on your eyes on the Fenn treasure. Like, you've done all the work and then you look and it's where you thought it was, and you dig it up or you find it. And I wanted to give someone the same excitement, but maybe on a lesser scale, because my treasure was still worth was worth like $5,000. I mean,
Wow.
it had a it had a so it had a bunch of silver in it, and then it had one gold coin in it, and I had a shit ton of copper coins in it because the
Copper
tre-
Dan.
it was called how to turn copper into gold.
Oh, okay.
That was the name of my hunt. I just remember that. It was how to turn copper into gold, and it was a magic box. The stuff that I can think of in my head scares me. I created this thing in my head, the magic box, and you put a piece of copper in it, and over time it turns it into gold. And that was the concept of the hunt. And the plan was with the hunt was I would go over time and add more gold coins to it as I got more entries into the hunt and got more money. It's unfortunately only lasted, less than 2 days. But anyways, when these guys found it, imagine 4 grown men finding a treasure and jumping up and down like they're 12 years old again.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's a video somewhere out there because they put it on YouTube, and I was just like that made it so worth it.
That's why we all do it, man. Like, what could you? That feeling is so good. It's better than any monetary gain. And we're lucky in the secret community because secret treasure isn't worth nothing. Like the casts maybe worth a couple $100. The gems maybe it's worth way less than $1,000. So
but you would like, even if I just found the 13th cache, I would be, oh my gosh,
you'd make way more money than if you found one of the originals.
And to find one of the original ones, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, and with that,
look at Jason Krupat and count yourself lucky.
I know. It's like you almost, but with those, you almost can't just keep it to your, like, for certain with the originals, you can't, you have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if there's a way you can do it where you remain.
There's a way you can do it anonymously. Yeah.
Okay.
There's absolutely a way there's a system set up because of how fractured the people who worked on the secret are, and because the gems are in one place and nobody really knows the answers and everybody kind of has to validate everything. There's a system in place where if you can email the podcast, but you have to email it a picture of the cask. Like if you just email and you're like, I know where it is and yada, 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 and you explain it, nobody cares. If you email a picture of the cask, it goes from me to Joe Ellen Trilling and John Palancar, and then from them to Byron's family. And then you're kind of included in this conversation. We coordinate a way to get you the prize. And anywhere in that process, you can just be like, I want to remain anonymous, and we will put out the information minus your name.
I mean, that this was me in this situation, knowing what I know now and how everything's turned out with the treasure hunts lately, I would like meet the family.
I don't know that any of that would happen. I don't know that they care enough.
Yeah. If they didn't want it, it'd be like completely fine. If Josh Gates wanted to tell my story, I would want to do it with.
He doesn't.
Like,
he's already said. He's already said even if another one's found, he doesn't care because he has it's not that he doesn't care. He's not going to do another show because he had that perfect arc. He had 3 episodes, one where you introduce the treasure, one where he's looking for the treasure, and one where he found it. He was like, it had a perfect beginning, it had a perfect middle, and it had a perfect end. He's like, there's nothing that he could do. And he said this multiple times. He said, there's nothing he can do to improve on the 3 episodes. So there's no point in him making another one. And he every single, he does all these talks, and every single searcher that talks about him comes back or talks to him about the secret comes back and says the same thing. He's not interested in doing another show, which is fine with me.
I'll make the documentary on it, leave myself out, and I'll just send it to you.
Yeah, do that. I'll throw it out there for you. I'll take all the heat. That's what I'm good at.
I've never even worked really. I mean, I've read a little bit, but I don't know. I know as much about that as you know about Forrest Fenn.
Well, I mean, Jason Krupat didn't know a whole lot about it either, and he solved one, so that could be a leg up for you. I mean, really, all you need to know are basic facts, like very basic facts. There's a painting and a poem. Most of them are pretty definitively matched together. There's not really any argument about it. Some of them there's a little bit of argument.
Do you need to understand the book?
You haven't needed anything from the book for the three that have been solved. You haven't needed anything in the book other than the painting and the verse. So there's a bit of an argument. Some people are like, yeah, the rest of the book's important. Some people are like, no. The creators seem to say that the rest of the book is that, like, after the paintings and the verses, nothing matters. The front of the book is kind of important to the structure of the puzzle, but that's already sort of most of it's already been figured out. So most of it's just sort of handed to you. But most everybody agrees that after the paintings and the verses, nothing matters. But once you know there's that painting and there's that verse, painting has latitude and longitudes. It gives you the proper city that you need to look in, and then go forth and prosper. That's really all you need to know.
Yeah, all the paintings have latitude and longitude in them?
All but one. And that one shares latitude and longitude coordinates with Chicago, and it has a rebus style puzzle that says Milwaukee. So that's the Milwaukee puzzle. So yeah, all the rest of them have latitude and longitude coordinates, and not just like a set of numbers. Generally, they have 4 numbers, so they build sort of a bounding box for you. Like, don't go outside of this box. Boston arguably had the zip code in it as well. So yeah, like the things that are agreed upon on the secret are so, they're almost superficial stuff. Like, they're just so in your face that I feel like, much like with the Forrest Fenn hunt, the problem comes from the subjectivity of the verses. You know, like they're so vague, you have no idea what Byron's talking about. Like sometimes you do, because a lot of the verse lines are like etched in stone. So you know this line refers to this thing, you know? But the ones that aren't they're just so subjective, they could be anything. I mean, just like with Forrest Fenn, I've heard some pretty compelling solutions for the secret where I was like, oh wow, that's gotta be right. And you get to the end and there's just nothing there. So I don't know.
Then there's the other problem with the secret, where what you could do in 1980 compared to what you can do in 2024.
Yeah. And the other side of that coin is the things you can do in 2024 that you couldn't do in 1982 are almost, they're 100% more of a hindrance to the hunt than anything else. The biggest downfall for this hunt is Google, you know, because you can fall down some extreme rabbit holes now that you couldn't fall down in 1982. You know, you can dig up obscure information about cities that seems to be really good matches to these verses, but there's like, in 1982, there's no way anybody would have known any of it. You know, like, how do you, in 1982, how do you know things like the name of a park's designer, unless it's something huge like Olmsted? Or how do you make random connections between, like, a guy who designed a building and then finding other buildings this guy does? Like, if you're just a kid in a library, how do you make these kind of connections?
You know, so that's what and then maybe that was something that you could almost think about. Like, maybe you should use just the library.
Yeah. That's my biggest tip for people, is encyclopedias and libraries. You know, a lot of people, one of the biggest ways and one of the biggest downfalls I see people working on the secret is they take these paintings and then they overlay maps on top of them. You know, they'll like go to Google Earth and get a map and they'll overlay it on the painting and they'll be like, oh, well, this is the outline of, you know, this river or whatever. It's impossible to do that in 1982. You know, these things, these tools, these methods didn't exist. And if they didn't exist then, it's impractical to think that the artist would use them, expecting them to exist in the future. I don't know. Going back to basics is a big thing in The Secret.
We were talking about that Homestead, and I'm looking on here right now.
He made like some of the biggest parks.
I know. I was just in Central Park, and I saw a plaque with his name on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made Lake Park in Milwaukee, Central Park, Grant Park, I think, Golden Gate Park, I'm pretty sure. All of the big parks Olmsted's company made. He has almost made a major park in every single state.
Oh, that's what I'm looking at the wrong. Anyways, yeah, I took a. Oh, I don't know where I put it. I took a picture of the thing that I saw. I just happened to catch my eye. Olmsted. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That's The Secret. Yeah.
He made Cherokee Park too.
That's what I meant when I said the Secret. I meant that.
Yeah.
Yep, he did.
So there you go. But I don't know if that's going to help you with the tribute hunt. I don't know how much technology John used. He wasn't a tech guy, but I don't know how much he used.
Yeah, I don't know. Louisville is really. I'm glad I get to go there every year. There's a lot of. So where the art show is in the oldest collection of Victorian homes in the United States, and it's just a court that you can drive around through and all the way on both sides. And we're in the middle in the courtyard where we set up. But there's all these statues, and yeah, it's just like who knows? Maybe he buried it right under my booth.
Yeah. I don't know. I've only been to Louisville once, and I was only able to stay there for a few hours. I mean, I went to the park, and it was nice, but I didn't find anything. I did.
It's big.
I didn't find anything. I went under a bridge, and I found a like a Tupperware box with a rock inside of it and a little yellow key. And I took that, and I still have it. It hangs on my backpack. And I sent a picture to Kit, because I was like, Kit, dude, if this is what we're looking for, I'm going to shoot you, dude. Because this is like, he's like, no, that's not it. I was like, okay, good. But yeah, that was my Louisville story. I found a little yellow plastic key that I have no idea what it goes to.
No, I have made my way around that park. Here's the neat part, or the interesting part is there's people I have seen a little bit on Facebook, and the people are like, it's not in Cherokee Park. You guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, dude, if it's not in Cherokee Park, we're on the biggest goose chase I've ever been on, because I mean, there's so many things that point to that park.
Yeah.
From the dog in the painting, it's all around the bottom of Hogan's fountain, to two circles, three dragon of the sea.
Yeah.
That's what I said something else earlier, and I'm like, emblem of B. I mixed it. I'm like, people are going to call me on that. Two circles, three dragon of the sea. And when you see that dragon Viking ship, you're like, holy crap.
So I don't know. I didn't, before John passed, like we weren't on the best terms, and even before we were on bad terms, we had made an agreement that because we were so close, no one who worked on the podcast was going to work on the tribute hunt, because we knew him so well, and we had some sort of inside information into processes that probably people shouldn't know. Right. So we made that agreement. And I know what point I was going to make, but there was something, I'm trying to remember, there was something important I was going to say. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I missed the progress on the tribute up until John passed away. And after John passed away, we kind of sort of had to step in a little bit. So I missed a lot of the progress. So I can't remember what John said publicly and what Kit said publicly versus things that were said privately. But I'm almost positive that both John and Kit have confirmed it's Cherokee Park publicly. I'm almost positive. In like videos and stuff. Like they would make statements where they wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, it's Cherokee Park," but it was in a roundabout way they were saying, "Yeah, it's Cherokee Park." And I mean, given like all of the clues from the painting that have been found in Cherokee Park that have been verified by all of the clues that are in the sketch that are in Cherokee Park.
The bridges are in the painting in the window. There's that figure. It's one of the shape of the posts that are on the bridges, not the posts, but spindles or balusters that are. I'm like, there's this, yeah.
I mean, I'll say, and I think I can say this without pissing anybody off. There's been 3 versions of the tribute verse that I've seen. There's the one publicly, and then there were 2 versions before it. And in my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, so I got to preface, in my opinion, if it's not Cherokee Park, like the entire puzzle is just one red herring. Like it's, I would give you 99.9% certainty that's the park that you should be looking at.
Unless there's an absolute replica somewhere out there. Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past John to put it on the outskirts of the park because he knows how much trouble people have had digging in parks. I wouldn't put it past him to put it in like an easement of the park. You know what I mean? Like a city-owned easement. But that's as far outside of that park as I would get. Some sort of easement.
The park is big.
It is huge.
It is huge. And it has... Yeah, I've been around it.
I don't understand why you guys, not you, I mean, you guys, I guess, the searchers haven't narrowed it down more. Like with the amount that's been said about that hunt. Like the whole, John had to be behind something to bury it and Kit had to watch out. And when it was removed, it was because of water damage and flood damage. And in the beginning of the hunt, construction almost, I forgot about that quote until just now. In the beginning of the hunt, construction on the park, put the cask in danger. I don't know if you remember that quote, but thinking back to that entire section of that park getting changed by construction, that makes more sense. When John said that. Didn't think about that until just now.
That's rather interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be replaying certain parts of this later on.
I always thought in the back of my head that John dug this thing up and removed the cask because of some sort of interpersonal problems he had with some people. That was always my
and that's what I thought too. I always thought
but I wonder if he went out there thinking it was gone and needing to see if it was still there. Because he dug for a long, the story goes, he dug for a long time trying to find it and couldn't. And he had like people on the phone with him being like he was talking to somebody that has helped him with the hunt in the past. And he was like, it's gone. It's gone. And I always assumed that to mean John thought someone came and took it. But I wonder if he thought the construction destroyed it. Because the person, it was encouraging, keep trying. You're right there. Keep trying. I wonder if he went and dug it up because he thought the construction might have taken it away. And then when he had it, he was like, well, screw it. I might as well keep it and protect it. And if you guys can find this box, you can have it. Which that would make sense to me. Like John just going and taking this thing never made sense to me. That's not the kind of person John is. But if there was a massive amount of construction and he thought there was a chance this thing could get destroyed, I can see him taking it. Like I can't see him leaving it in that situation. That would be too special to John to just leave it there to chance. He would have to take it. So I wonder if that's what it is. And I wonder if the main problem you guys are having is the way markers have moved. That's cool. If it's
That is very cool.
it's interesting to say the least.
A neat perspective.
Hmm.
Being that I didn't know.
Let me
It's my fault for not knowing some of this stuff to think about that.
Let me see if I can share. Let me see if I can share a screen with you. And I'll show you. Oh, you got to open Google Earth, don't you? Let me see if I can get this to where I don't like show you my main display, which would suck. Can I share a screen? What is this going to show? Yeah, that's good. All right, let me know if you can see.
I see it. Yeah, I see the Earth.
See Google Earth? All right. Let's go to Cherokee Park, Louisville. All right, so place that I'm talking about is where it's down here. All right, now this is the main focus, right, of the tribute, most of the tribute, right? It's where the marsh and hillside benches are. It's where the valley is, whatever. Depending on your interpretation of the verse, most people agree that this section is important, and this is what it looks like now, but that's what it looked like then.
Holy crap. Gold.
Yeah, like that. That's what it looked like. And you can kind of see, like, there's benches here. There's a bench here. There's a bench here.
Can you zoom? Can you go in closer?
Not really. I mean, you lose detail, but that's what it looked like when John buried this. I mean, this isn't the exact date when John buried it, but it's pretty damn close.
What year? How far did you go back? What are you at right now?
This is February 2018. I don't remember when it was released. When was it released? It was released February. Was it 2019 or 2018?
I'm trying to remember one of the 2 years here, but
oh, they say they don't see what we're seeing, but that's okay. Just go for the people who are watching, go to Google Earth.
How can they not see what your screen sharing?
I think Zoom isn't showing. Hang on, I can fix it. Let me just do this real quick. All right.
Hang on, people.
Yeah, hang on. It's coming.
We got technology.
All right. So yeah. So this is what it looked like. This is 2 of 2018. And I can't remember. That's 10 of 2018. So it was released in February 2018, right? Or was it 2019?
Oh, that's a great freaking question.
So
someone in chat's got it. Someone in chat's got to know that answer.
Kathy Vale said it was released in 2 of 2019, which means it was buried in, I'm not going to tell you exactly when, but mid 2018, because it was buried mid the year before. So this is 10 of 18. Oh, I don't know. You're pushing it.
That's February of 18, and
this is October.
So go back to the other one once, please.
That's February.
and then go back. Oh my
And
God.
you can
It
tell
doesn't look
yeah, all of this
like,
is brand new. Everything here is brand new. You've still got construction going
so,
on down here. Still got construction going on up here.
so, you got to think.
None of those benches, the Martian hillside benches, none of them are here because they should be right in here.
So this is fall. This is October.
This is October. This is
And it
October
was
21st.
so he was burying it when all this was going on.
I can't imagine he would have though. Like if he got there and he
Yeah, I
saw,
know exactly. If he got there and saw this happening,
I can tell you with 100% certainty that it was not buried after the date of this satellite image. I cannot tell you for certain if it was buried before all of this was put in. But what I can tell you is it was buried before this. So those benches that we see, none of those benches are here. Nothing is here. Even the bench down here at the bottom is not here. They all had to be somewhere else.
yeah, this building, and whoops, that's new building right there. That's a pretty neat.
Yeah.
Believe me, I was walking around counting the the openings, the windows.
But like, I mean, like all of these was that parking lot even? The parking lot wasn't even there. And people think like that parking lot is the shape of the axe or whatever. It wasn't even here. The bathrooms, are they in the same place? Bathrooms are in the same place.
So they completely changed this parking lot. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What about the building in the top of this picture? Is that
Behringer?
just does it?
I mean, they don't do anything to that. I don't think it's. Yeah, it's still there. I mean, they add like playground. Well, no, even the playground stuff's still there. But there's all these benches here now or then. Like there's a bench here, there's a bench here, there's a bench here. That arguably is a bench. That arguably is a bench. Are they there? I can't tell if they're there now.
There's a lot of trees there.
And once you get to where there's no trees, it doesn't look like. No, the benches are gone. Maybe that's where the benches were.
And with this, you can figure out where the benches were.
Yeah, but you can't figure out which ones were where. Like Marsh, Hillside, Valley, where those are seems to matter. I don't know. You got problems, sir.
There's a guy named Jack Stuef once that grid searched an area, and my friends.
Maybe we could pay him to come out and search for this. I don't know.
What is that concrete thing in the upper left?
This?
To the keep going up. That thing. What is that thing?
It's playground equipment.
Because it's still there, right?
Yeah, it's still there. Let's see if we can we street view it? Nope. So I don't know. I mean, you guys got your work cut out for you, but I didn't realize. I mean, it wasn't until recently that I realized this park had changed this much. Somebody just kind of pointed it out during a Sunday
when you come around that bench to the left, it goes, oh, that's going to the Daniel Boone statue.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
that's
when
your
you come in,
path. You come in,
because when you
here's the fountain, and then here's where you park. What do you want me to zoom in on? You don't have to get closer to your screen. I can zoom in for you.
I'm just I'm trying to remember this in my head because I've been there so many times.
You come around the corner and you have the fountain on your left, Hogan's Fountain, I think is what it's called.
So that's Hogan.
Yeah.
Oh, we're over. Okay, we're over here. I'm thinking we were somewhere else.
You're thinking we're by the two C's or whatever. The boat thing. Yeah, that's Hogan's Fountain.
So now there's another building that's not there anymore
No,
because that is gone.
this building is the bathrooms.
Not the bathrooms, the other building.
This building they tore down. The pavilion, they tore it down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was unsafe or something. It had been there for like 100 years. Now they're like, it's unsafe.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I don't know. I
So
think
now
I
that
think
area is so drastically changed now.
it makes like John's actions make way more sense to me in the context of all of this construction happening.
Now, what are we looking at right here for time?
This is February 2018.
Boy, I wish this thing would go like month by month.
Yeah. It jumps from February to October. And that's
Yeah.
the amount of work they got done in between February and October. I mean, it's not complete because they haven't finished the grass or the ball field.
There's a story. There's a story to be told in this if we think about this. If the searcher thinks about this correctly, because if John had to have known, so he wouldn't have hit it. The other one was February, so I don't think he would have went down there in the winter and done it. He would have waited till summer. But by summer, this project had to have been going on.
What are summer months? Because I
would
like
say
July, August, June, July, and August.
I would argue down there summer months would even start as early as April, May. For even in Minnesota by May, I mean, April showers bring May flowers. I mean, so even by May in Minnesota. So I would say down there, April. I mean, they would have. But my point to this is construction would have probably already gotten started on this.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact date. I remember the thing that caused him to go down, and I remember vaguely what time of year it was, and I think construction would have had to have been happening. I just don't know how much would have been completed. Because it's not like this is I can turn off this.
Yeah, we can go back
now.
to.
Yeah. Let me hang on. How do I stop screen sharing? Oh, there. Okay. This happened so quick. Like this construction just happened. You don't see city construction that doesn't like I would expect if that was in Florida, I would expect that to take a year.
Yeah, anywhere it takes so long. They banged that out fast.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a big mystery. How much was not all of it was done because I know it was buried before that October picture was taken. And the park still isn't done in that picture. Like the benches are now. The benches are not where they are now.
So my guess. My guess is by the time he got there, construction was underway, but it had to been to a point.
Where he
So
thought it was over.
If that was where it is, it was to a point where he thought it was over, but then maybe there was a change order or something that made him worry.
At least it could have been at least to where he thought the major way markers would not change. You know, maybe the paths were already done, the building was already constructed, and he thought nothing major would change. Maybe he thought the benches would stay where they were, but then they moved. I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions. That's for puzzle people to figure, or for people who are working on the puzzle to figure out. That's for you, Dan. Go forth and prosper.
Oh, I may not sleep tonight.
It's gonna be fun. You can take all of this information to the tribute people. They don't watch this stream, so there's not going to be any talk about this. But feel free to go to them and be like, "Hey, all this stuff we've been looking at wasn't here."
Actually, if you can just clip that part out of this out.
Oh, so only you get to see it? I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Why did this? Yeah. Well, there's people watching. Let's like. So why did this stream end suddenly? About an hour into the.
Someone says to check out the link for timing on construction. So I'm assuming in YouTube, someone will post a link for construction timing. Yeah.
If I were looking for this, which I am, so I want to watch how much I say here, but everyone else in this room is already thinking of it. You can get your hands on construction plans.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is not rocket science. If this is what potentially is what happened, what the problem is, you can just look at these pictures. Maybe you can get some other pictures of progression and just start thinking like, all right, where was this bench that got removed used to be here, but it's gone. And that's what we need to know. And then there are ways of triangulating and then going there. And
someone did make a good point. I don't know if they're a guy, the volcano god, said that they lived in Orlando for 20 years and since moved to Chicago. One thing I learned about the Midwest is that municipalities have a budget and they work quickly in the fall. I didn't think about that. In Florida, they work year round. But somewhere like Louisville, they're going to have to knock out the work when the ground's thawed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because it doesn't get as cold down there as it does in Minnesota, but it still does. It does get cold. Probably enough for them to.
I don't know. Like my only experience is South Carolina, and they can work year round in South Carolina. Even if it snows, the ground is kind of frozen. But
didn't they delay the hunt at the start for some reason?
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with any of that. It didn't have anything to do with burying it, or they just had like a little micro problem. And then they were like, well, let's not, because I think he wanted to release it in January, like on New Year's. I think that was his initial goal. And then they had a little micro problem, and he was like, well, the next holiday is Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Okay.
So it didn't have anything. He could have still released it in January probably, but he had a little thing he wanted to fix.
Oh. Did he have to go? Did he have to go move it because somebody did construction?
No, that wasn't it. It was. I don't want to say because I don't know the truth, but it was. I think it was like just a miscommunication, and some. I think something had to be changed in the painting.
Oh,
I think there was miscommunication. I think something had to be changed in the painting, but I'm not sure. It was just something like that. Okay, if we're being honest, I think the painting just wasn't done. It just wasn't done in time. I think like they had to push because it wasn't done. It was very last minute.
Was Kit dragging his feet?
Not really. I think the problem was communication was hard because John was always on the road and he was constantly busy, and he's not the best text-based communicator, right? Like he just wasn't the best at that. He was great when you get him on the phone, but he didn't always have time to talk on the phone. And Kit was working like 4 jobs then. He definitely didn't have time to get on the phone. So I think there was just a little bit of miscommunication and it wasn't totally done on time. So yeah.
No,
there you go. Now I've said probably way too much about the tribute.
All I remember about the
get
tribute is when we were positive it was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everybody thought it was Minnesota, and I had somebody else that was working on it reach out to me because I live in Minnesota. And they're like, would you like to be my partner on this and go up? I'm like, yep. Like so he gave me a location up in the Minneapolis area, and that's an hour for me. I jumped up there, and it was still, well, it was like February. So there's frost 3 feet in the ground. So we weren't going to be probing for a while. So I went up there and I took a video of the area, and then we conversed over the next couple of months, and then we come up with some spots that we were going to probe. And it was coming into what was it? Probably April. I was getting ready that weekend where I felt the frost was out, and I was going to go up there and start probing areas. And that's when they come out with the
that photo
in Louisville. I went hunts over, and that's honestly what I said on my Facebook page. I'm like, hunts over, folks. Boy, did I eat that one. Because
I'll say we were talking earlier about getting inside of hunt creators' heads, right? I've said this since it was made public by the person who did it, I don't know, a year after the hunt was created. John released this puzzle in February, and before that picture had come out, one of John's friends had solved 90% of the tribute and had told John this, and John was like, yeah, like he was like, just finish it. You solved it. And like, I remember that picture because that guy was mad thinking that someone he talked to had told those people his ideas and they had went and taken the picture. Now, the person that had solved it wasn't going to dig up he was just doing it for his personal, his personal satisfaction. Like he wasn't going to dig anything up or whatever.
Okay.
But he was in Cherokee. And like the only leg up he had on everyone, he didn't have any inside information. He just knew how John thought. He knew how John worked on puzzles, and he did it that way. And within, 3 months of the thing being released, he was like, I'm at the end now. So the importance of knowing John, the importance of knowing Forrest, the importance of knowing Byron is huge. Anyway.
We've had a good talk.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we've gone for 3 hours. Rachel's going to kill me. But let you come back sometime. Let's do this again. Let's just talk about the tribute one day. Do you have anybody you work on the tribute with?
Nope. I'm a one-man show.
Well, why don't I could get people who are working on the tribute together, and we could all have because I don't think we've ever had a tribute stream where it's just about the tribute. If you want to do it,
I think we had a pretty good tribute stream tonight.
Yeah, but what we should do, or at least what you should do, is think about these things for a week or two, and let's come back and roundtable and see where you got with it.
Right.
And I'll send it to a couple. I know I bet Sunday or Eve or Tim. I bet there's a bunch of tribute people that would come on and talk about this. Because I think this was a good stream.
The tribute has been like I see the Facebook page that's to the tribute, and it's been like people have been going and looking.
Yeah.
Like big time lately. It's been on people's minds. People are getting ideas, and they're confident. And then, you know what happens with confidence when you get boots on the ground.
Yeah. I'll say that there's unlike the secret, there are people who know where you should dig. And it's not me. I'm not one of those people. But there are people who know where you should dig in the tribute. They may not know why, but they know where you should dig. And none of them are worried. None of them are like, oh, you can't find it. So given all of these changes and stuff, nobody's worried. And
Okay.
even after the changes, John was still able to find it. So,
And it may have taken him a little bit, but I mean, this was a year or two after.
yeah.
So, I mean,
I can think in John's head, he would think if he went down there and a bunch of stuff was changed and a bunch of stuff was moved, he would think, well, this happened to the secret too. And this is a tribute to the secret. So it just works. You got to figure that shit out. I could see him doing that.
Today's technology is, look at what we just did in a little bit with Google Earth going back in history.
Yeah. Oh, well, good luck. But I'll set up, if you're willing, dude, I'll set up something with the tribute. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
Well, then
give me some time to digest all this, and
I'm going to stop the stream, but before I do, you can buy Copper Dan's ring on eBay. A link was posted way earlier. Because you make awesome art and you don't ever publicize it. Where can people buy that?
copperelements.info is my website. And also, you can find us on our Facebook. We have a Copper Elements Facebook site, but the website is where you want to go. So copperelements.info.
And you make gorgeous stuff.
Thank you.
Stuff. All right, cool. Well, thanks for talking. I'll round back up with you in a couple of days and set up another stream.
All right.
All right, later.